Welcome, guys. Welcome to a bit of a late start with ChatTactic number 8 for 2025. This is I missed last week. I slept in beyond what was sort of safe for me to be able to do a live stream, but today I did sleep in again. So past, I've only just sort of woken up maybe 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. So I've sort of going to be starting this one a bit late as well. That's why I don't schedule ahead of time, because like I schedule when I wake up, essentially, which usually is an hour. I've usually got about an hour of after I wake up to, or at least an hour, to sort of then do the scheduling and get it all in there. Hi, Reed, how you going? So I'm going to be a little bit groggy at the start of this, and we'll sort of then move in from there. And I don't know what we're going to talk about yet today. So I've got a few things that I do want to sort of mention. There's a few of the old favourites. Sort of we've got movement. There's movement at the station, basically. Oh, actually, you guys won't even know what that is. That's a famous Australian poem. If you're Australian, you'll know what that is. The movement at the station, but the word had got around. That's the start of a very, very famous Australian poem. I won't go into it in any more detail than that, but we'll just leave it there. I'm just rambling at the moment. Now, this week actually has been a interesting one for me personally. Not just for me, but for everyone in the region of the state that I live in, including the state below us as well. And we've had a tropical cyclone come through, and it actually happened to, in the end, cross right where we were, basically right over the top of our place is where it crossed pretty much yesterday. But by that stage, it was a tropical low. And I might just start there and just go through and explain, show a little bit of that. I know some of you are interested, some of you won't be, but I know that I certainly have appreciated the kind thoughts that people have had over the last week, because it has been around for an awfully long time. So this is it here. It's called Cyclone Alfred. So severe tropical cyclone Alfred was a powerful, long-lived and erratic tropical cyclone. It really was erratic. It sort of was like a spinning top that went all over the place. And so it was a severe tropical cyclone. It came down to an area. Like we don't live in the tropics, we live in the subtropics, and so normally we don't see anything like this. And this is the first one of these that's really come through here for about 50 years. So it was sort of a long time, and it was sort of one of these things. It was of great concern because of what it was going to do. And if I just quickly sort of show, that's the track that it had. If I open this one up. This is actually what it did. So it started way up over through here. This one started, I forget even when it was last month somewhere. So this is day by day, where it sort of built up pressure, sort of lost pressure, etc., etc. And it never, we were impacted from this right from when it was up in here somewhere. And so what they do is they whip around in a clockwise motion. This is the Coriolis effect. If you're sort of used to hurricanes in the northern hemisphere, a hurricane is essentially a cyclone, but we don't get hurricanes because they go in the opposite direction because they're in the northern hemisphere. So they actually go in an anti-clockwise direction. Ours go in a clockwise direction because we're in the southern hemisphere. And essentially it just tracked all the way down the coast. And they didn't know what it was going to do at certain stages. It then they knew even around here that was likely to end up hitting somewhere in between. You can see that there's an island up through here, which is Fraser Island, and then there's also the New South Wales border is down through here somewhere. And they thought it was going to hit somewhere there, even at this stage here. And the reason they knew that there was actually, and I don't know if I can, no, I can't really sort of see it down there. Can I zoom in? I can't really sort of show much with that one, but anyway, it's it sort of came down the coast. But what it did is it whipped up waves, and we've actually had pretty much closed beaches for 3 weeks. So because this thing has been around for basically 3 weeks, and so the impact on us down here was even down when it was out this way, it was still actually whipping up waves that were really, really large. And so look, when it first started to come, it's sort of fun when there's for us, when there's a cyclone out this way, usually the waves become much more fun. Like they become a good fun to sort of deal with, and we tend to not get too much of the, like we often get a bit of rain as well if they're way up the top through here. So they're massive systems. But anyway, as it came down the coast, when it actually gets to around about here somewhere, it's still going in a clockwise motion, but by that stage we're starting to get the weather off the inland, which means that we end up not getting rain. And so we end up sort of in a position where we essentially don't have any rain. And even as it came in, I don't know if I can sort of, yeah, I can zoom in, okay. I can zoom in a bit closer in through here. So as it sort of came back through there, it actually then stalled in its movement. Now, even though it was going out this way, the reason it was going out was being pushed out by a big high pressure system below Australia. Like there was a massive high that was pushing it away from the coast, but they knew that high pressure system was going to go to New Zealand, and so they knew it was going to stop and then be pushed back again by the high coming through here. It started to pick up a lot of speed, and everyone thought, oh, okay, this thing's going to be across the coast in a matter of days. So like for the last week or so, we've been under watch of this particular thing. It then did little loop-the-loops. It did one thing through there. It did another loop-the-loop when it got really close to land. And so the thought was it was going to actually hit down here somewhere, but it ended up crossing some islands. It weakened to a tropical low at that point, and in fact, there's sort of a tropical low through here. But it crossed. When was it? Last night or the night? No, not last night. It crossed 2 days ago, essentially. But it crossed right where we were. And the weird thing about this is, by that stage, it was sort of like the eye of it was still the eye of a cyclone is extremely calm, when it's actually a tropical cyclone. I've been through a couple of them, like further up north and also in Western Australia. So I've seen them, I've seen the eye of a cyclone before, which is fascinating to see. Like it really is. And it was even like last night. Sorry, I'll go back. Last night is when, literally for me, just a couple of hours ago. But the night before, even 2 nights ago, I think, was 2 or 3 nights ago, I went outside to come and do a live stream, and I was literally we were pretty much in the middle of it at that stage. But by that stage, it wasn't a cyclone anymore, but it was a massive tropical low, and there was it was super calm at our place. This is right before it crossed over through here, so super calm, and then it actually ended up. There was a ring of thunderstorms all the way around our location. You could see them all around the horizon, just this massive ring of thunderstorms. So we ended up just being such a charmed existence, right where we live, as in literally the number of suburbs that actually were around us. Everything else around us really copped this thing, and except for us. So we've had a bit of rain, but nothing that we haven't seen before. All these different sorts of things. Whereas literally 50 kilometres away, massive rainfalls, massive damage, massive wind. We did have a little bit of wind, but nothing like what we were expecting. So we just happened to cop the eye of it when it was sort of like weakening. And so for us it was not a massive deal. But so for those of you that have been sort of asking about how things are going and all that sort of stuff, because you just sort of know that's where I live in around here. It was, for us it was actually fine, but literally for 50 kilometres away, it was pretty much devastation, to a large degree. This was, by the time it crossed into here, it was what's called a Category 2. Actually, if I go back out, if I go away from that one there and go back into here, there's one thing I didn't even realise. This goes through. That's sort of showing off the coast just how big these things actually get. Nearing its first peak on February 27th. So that was 2 weeks ago, really. So just go through the history of it as well. But there is actually and then this is sort of like the. All of the coast has been devastated because, it's all cliffs now, including our beach. Our beach has got 12-foot cliffs all the way along it, where the cyclone has actually etched out all of the sand and sort of dragged it all out. But it's dropped a shitload of rain as well, and so you can see through here. This is the highest rainfall ever recorded. The wettest tropical cyclones and their remnants in Australian history. So in Australian history, we're the 6th highest rainfall, and so there's massive flooding all the way around where we are. There's over a metre of rainfall in specific locations. So this has actually been the The biggest problem, like even around where I live, and like 20 kilometres away from where I live, has been completely flooded out. Like it's 20 or 30 kilometres away. There's creeks overflowing. Even now, there's actually creeks closed, etc., etc. So it's quite a. It was extremely wet. Again, because of where it crossed right over the top of where we were in the eye of that low for so long that basically we didn't cop that much rain, but everywhere else around us copped a hell of a lot. Brisbane copped, I think, 400 millimetres of rain, which is, again, that's a lot of rain. Like that's a hell of a lot of rain to fall. That's 400 millimetres in like a square centimetre type thing. That's just everywhere has got like so much rain that has actually fallen. But yeah, that's in recorded history. That's the sixth wettest cyclone ever. That's if you're in inches, this is 43 inches of rain. So it's a lot of rain that actually has fallen. But again, right where we were was really, really. It was actually nothing. Like we get tropical storms every year that are worse than what we actually got. So we were extremely lucky. Like we really dodged the bullet, and the fact that it came back north again saved us, because the people that are north of us have copped I think 300 millimetres. Pretty much yesterday morning was just slightly to the north of us, like maybe sort of like 100 kilometres north of us. It was really copping a lot of rain that they weren't expecting. But right where we are, we copped maybe 20 mils. So 20 millimetres out of 1 metre is not too bad. So it was it's quite dramatic, actually, quite dramatic. That's what actually did happen. There's been people missing, unfortunately, things like that as well. But it's but the overall housing is mainly the most damage I think has been to housing. So anyway, that's sort of has happened there. So if you, I know that some of you have been interested about what's happened with that one through there, but this one is this was a fairly major event. It's sort of funny because the people are upset that the Bureau of Meteorology, the bomb in through here. The people are upset that they didn't know exactly what it was going to do, but you can see the track of it. Like this is, how can you predict this stuff? I mean, they can predict it within reason, and the thing is, it did end up going exactly pretty much where they predicted, but they just had a wide region of where they thought the cyclone would hit. Like they had from the border up to the island, and really that's halfway through. What more can they do? I thought they did an incredible job with their information. Like it's sort of funny because they've. I was surprised when I heard that people were upset with what the Bureau of Meteorology had actually sort of said with their warnings, like that they were incorrect. I mean, all meteorology is going to have a degree of incorrectness. Like we were watching a few different YouTube channels as well that actually do their own analysis, and they were also extremely good, but extremely inaccurate. But the information that they provided was very, very valuable. So anyway, that was that was Cyclone Alfred. One thing I thought some of you might be interested in is this. I found this story just literally as I woke up. So this is footage here of sharks. I think this guy shows. I think this is just a short somewhere where they show sharks swimming around. So shark spotted this is in the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast got smashed. You can see that there's trees down through here. They copped it for like 4 days of absolute horrific rain. There we go. There's sharks in the actual. This is inside the canals. This is why I never swim in canals. So this is a bull shark. Which is which if after big rain events, bull sharks bull sharks are an unusual. We don't need to look at all this other stuff, but the bull sharks, essentially these sharks here are they live in the creeks and estuaries. They're essentially a saltwater shark, but they live in sort of like in the canals, so they're actually always there. It's sort of funny that people don't think that they're there, but they're very rarely seen like this. But that's why I never ever swim inside canals, saltwater canals, is because they don't look at you. They just go for whatever the movement is, and then they will essentially then take a bite of something, see if they like it or not, and either continue or not. So they're very, very dangerous. So bull sharks, when there's been a lot of water, these get flushed out into the ocean, and so even swimming in the ocean, if it's murky, it's extremely dangerous. There was someone that was killed very close to here just in the last few weeks. From another rain event. I think it may even be from the same system, where there was like a lot of rain coming through. It sort of flushed some of the canals out, and ended up sort of getting basically these sharks end up in the out in the ocean. So they're not normally really an ocean going shark, and again they're dangerous simply because they don't look at what they're going to be eating. Most sharks, unless they're massively large, will actually look at someone around the place and not do anything. Like there's another one that actually there was a guy just in the last few weeks. I'll see if I can actually do the Google of that one, because he was swimming. This is I don't know if I showed this. Swimming looked at by sharks. This is their normal behaviour. This is a man swimming. I can't see it. Yeah. Anyway, there was a whole lot of sharks were following. And this is their typical behaviour. Yeah, I can't sort of see it there. If I go to videos, I'll type in the word drone, because it was actually a drone operator. Yeah, big bull sharks again. This is Kagari is these are bull sharks again. Kagari is Fraser Island, which is that island we saw at the top of the thing. Yeah, no, I can't sort of see it there, but there's this guy that ends up swimming, and he's got no idea. And but what they do is that most of them will come and have a look and see if you're food or not, and if you're a human, they'll think, okay, look, I'm not going to bother with that, and it'll go off. But there are sort of different things. Anyway, I know that some of you are interested in sharks, but that's why I never ever swim in a canal ever. And after it's been raining very heavily, if the water is brown, like as in the water has come out of the river systems, and you can see that it's brown and murky, I don't swim out too far because I know that these things then are out in the bay because they've been sort of flushed out with all of the water. Anyway, that's thought that might be interesting for some of you. Sorry, but I've actually spent longer on that than what I meant to. But anyway, that's sort of what's happened with us over the last few weeks. All right, let's get into it. So Rita's in saying, I was watching Derail Valley Simulator stream just now. Not your kind of game and not mine either, but stream was relaxing. I don't know at all what that actually is. Hi Chris, how you going? So Rita's saying, is it like a tornado? No, a tornado is very, very, we get them as well. Tornado is essentially just a very, very enclosed system. Like it's, they sort of start off, we have what's called, actually, while you're asking the question, we end up with things called willy willies, which are sort of like mini tornadoes, and then we all end up with tornadoes. We also end up with ocean tornadoes. I'll just see if willy is in here. Yeah, so we end up with these mini tornadoes, which just come out of nowhere in the desert, and they sort of crop up. They're very, very short living, but they throw things. They throw all sorts of stuff at you. Essentially, if you get caught with one, I've been caught in a few of those as well. Like it's they're just mini tornadoes, but they usually form in the desert, and they're like just dust and sticks and stuff like that. Little rocks and things end up being sort of thrown around. Just see if in that one we'll have a look. Hang on, no, don't use that one. So I'll just ditch that one. Yeah, no, that's okay. Anyway, that's the I don't know why they're called willy willies, but anyway, that's That's what it is through there. So Chris is saying, did you have a lot of so you did have a lot of lightning, but no rain. Not even a lot of lightning. When we get a tropical storm, there's a lot more lightning where we are. Like they comes right over the top, and is extremely. We often will get like 200 or 300 millimeters of rain in a tropical storm. So that's not unheard of, but it's very, very short lived. Like it sort of essentially just comes and goes in 20 minutes, 30 minutes type thing. Whereas this thing has been just for days and days. So Michael's saying, hey, Daz and chat, we're tracking the storm. The storm is over. As of today, basically, it's now just back to slightly rainy weather. Chris is saying 43 inches. Wow, it was a lot of rain, a hell of a lot of rain. That was probably, in the end, the major thing that actually sort of came with what was going on with it. Michael's saying, didn't the Bahamas get flooded not too long ago? I think I heard something in the news. I'm not sure, but if that got flooded, it possibly was a hurricane because it's in the northern hemisphere. So Tracknar is saying, Shadow Empire seems extremely interesting, but I have trouble getting past the first turn, even after watching 2+ hours of tutorial. Okay, we can look at that sort of stuff today because I don't actually have anything planned. Chris is saying, hey Daz, I've been playing Age of Wonders 3 and Age of Wonders 4. 3 keeps on crashing for me, but I upgraded the GPU drivers and it stopped happening. So I'm playing through Age of Wonders 3. What strikes me about Age of Wonders 3 is its role play game. I don't play 3 now for a great length of time, and I never ever bothered playing any of the campaigns in 3. I only ever played the random maps. More so than Age of Wonders 4. Well, I think because Age of Wonders 4 does have preset missions as well, but not in the same degree as Age of Wonders 3, because what it does do is it has like a theme, and then it will randomize the maps and do things like that, so that there's random content in amongst the RPG, which I prefer. Silvercall saying evening, so hi back. And Rita saying, did you ever rescue someone from a shark? Not me personally, no. I've never even. I've heard some horror stories from people that I know who have had to do it. One guy had to do it within, I think, he had to do it twice, within 2 weeks of each other of them. He was a helicopter rescue guy, and he ended up having to basically try to save two different people in 2 different times. But that's the most horrific that I've heard. Actually, was what he had to do, which was really bad. We have, like, if you don't know, I'm a lifesaver, and at our local surf club, we actually do have a shark kit, which has got all of the got the tourniquets, the combat, hemostatic bandaging and stuff like that to sort of stop massive bleeds, things like that. So we do have the kit for it, and we have to check it all the time, and sort of we have to train everyone in how to use it, but we don't actually. No one's ever done that at our surf club, so thank God. Sort of funny because like people, like the sharks are around all the time anyway, but so few people get actually bitten by them. It's not a common occurrence. Like it's quite rare. But there's sightings a lot. You get sightings all the time with sharks. Okay, so Dutov Devlich is saying that Willy Willy equals Dust Devils. Yeah, that's I've heard that term as well. And actually saying Aussies have interesting names for things. Yeah, I don't know where the name Willy Willy came from. But yeah, it's sort of funny with the Dust Devil. So they're sort of mini tornadoes, and but we do get actual tornadoes as well, but nothing like what the US gets. So we don't have the topology or the topography to actually sort of then really form them, because I think that requires wet as well as in very intense sort of locations, whereas ours are mainly all dry. I've seen them. I've seen images of them off their coast where where you end up with them actually in the water, like a water spout, which is a similar sort of thing as well. So Dave Flute saying, we've been playing Old World, especially with the new DLC, Stunning 4X, well worth a look. Actually, a number of people have said that. We should have a look at that today, actually. I don't think I've got the DLC for that one. I'll have to have a look. Just completed Fermageddon. Need a long break from that now, says Michael. It's funny, based on what everyone was talking about, I've actually got my hands on Fermageddon, and I like the look of it. There's some things I don't like. We can have a look at that as well. Let's start with Shadow Empire. getting past the first turn after watching 2 hours of tutorials. I'll show you very quickly how to get past that if you're a new player without actually worrying too much about it, because it's one of those games where you do need to min-max to a degree in Shadow Empire. Let's just go across and open that one up. And I'll just go and generate. If you're a new player, I'll sort of show you some settings that will help you play as a new player. So let's just go across. If you have Oceania, I wouldn't bother playing the Oceania locations for a new player at this stage. I would just play the base game. I don't actually bother with having the Oceania actual settings turned on. I like what it does. I sort of leave it. I forget these settings that I've got for it. I'm just going to quickly turn my air conditioner on. I'll be right back. Right, so we'll just start a new game here, and if you're going to be playing it as a new player, you don't like the tutorials certainly that I've been putting out have been. I've gone into a lot of depth about what things are doing, but I also have like a very short, like 5-minute section at the start, just to quickly go over the fast way of doing things. So I do recommend my tutorials. They're still actually relevant, even though they're a couple of years old, a few years old. Daz, did you try Platoon Commander? No, I didn't, I don't think. Hi Wiggly, how you going? So, and hi Invictus. All right, so starting a new game. Now, if you're a new player to Shadow Empire, play the Siwa class, which is sort of like like an Earth-like. And what this does is it makes your troops weaker because they don't have to use all the equipment, but it also means that you're playing with farmers, which are much more diplomatic. So if you like a diplomatic type game, Siwa class is a good one. If you don't like diplomatic style games, there is actually a additional planets through here, which are just part of the game. And there's one called the Morgana class, which I really like this one. What this one does is it's a desert world with oases. So again, it's fairly forgiving. I might even start on that one and just sort of show the difference in through here. Also, start different games, see what happens with them, and then like quit straight away as soon as you get in and have a bit of a look around. With all of the history classes, the only thing I have selected in here pretty much is spread out. Just spread all the mages away from you. That way you don't have to deal with them initially. They can become a problem for you. Some new players always turn on alien life as well. Don't do that. Alien life is not going to make your game easier or more fun, to be honest. You're better off just playing against other AI humans rather than actually having alien life. If you do have alien life, we'll see what we end up with on this particular world. And I'll just go through with the setups as to how it sort of does work. But if we just click that one on through there, you do actually have things like Haven of Calm as well, which will then sort of help if you do want it a bit more peaceful. But I think for me, spread out is actually a good one to then sort of use. When you're going through here, this is also where you may run into a few little problems. One human player, of course, city-state start. Some players will play with more zones at the start. I just like to have a single zone, but I do like to have 2 armies per zone with that one. So it just gives me 2 armies at the start of the game, which allows me to defend what I've got. Tech level 3 is a hard start. Okay, so this is actually minimal tech. If you're playing on sort of like a Siwa class world, that'll be okay, but it'll be a slow build-up of technology. Tech level 4 is a good one. It's a good one to start with because you get all the basics basically out of the way right from the very, very start. Air Force is enabled. You'll see that I don't bother having Oceania DLC anymore on. I actually leave that one turned off. It just adds complexity, and to be honest, until navies are introduced, I'm not going to bother turning that on. When navies are introduced in the game, and I think it's a matter of when, not if, then I'll definitely turn that one back on again, and that will then revolutionise playing that way. But they're a long way off at this stage, like a relatively long way off. I know the development process of the game is it is in there, but not in the short term. There's other things that they wanted to introduce, which is great. I mean, it's a great game. Development speed, again, up to you as to how you want to be going. Like with this is essentially your research and development. I've just got it on normal. It's mainly because I'm doing live streams. I would normally play on slow, like I would have it down there. When you're organisational levels, I think a lot of new players also think I'm just going to grab everything at the start. You have to pay for it, so don't do that. Just the Supreme Command Council at the start, and then figure out what you need over time. You can always bring in more whenever you want, so don't feel that you have to, you have to wait for them to ask you anything. Hi, Seeking Matter, how you going? So the Supreme Command Council is really the easiest way to start the game, rather than going with the basic 4 or all 8, because you do have to pay for it. You have to pay for it in terms of the one thing in the game to be aware of is there's bureaucratic points. It doesn't mention it anywhere in the game itself, but that is the goal of the game, is to get the most bureaucratic points. That's what your development, everything revolves around bureaucratic points. So that's the goal is the BPs, which is the way they're referred to in the game. And it's sort of funny because I've never seen it mentioned anywhere in the game. Okay, I have mentioned it a few times that there needs to at least be tooltips about what that is, but that is that's the goal of the game. When you distill it down to purely gameplay, it's all about bureaucratic points. Bureaucratic points are spent for each command council you bring in. They cost bureaucratic points. Or they use up with bureaucratic points. Difficulty level, again, if you're a new player, play on beginner. Don't play on anything harder. Hard is actually really, really hard. Like it makes it very, very difficult to play on hard. I like hard, but I've been playing this for years now, so I'll leave it on hard for now. And then game variance. I think it's better to learn the logistics of the game right from the start, more so than going for either mid-core or easier. You can disable the epochs if they annoy you. They're sort of like the ages of different things that come through. For around about 20 or 30 turns, there's like an age of bureaucracy or an age of this, which will give a theme to what's going on. It doesn't really impact much of what happens, so I just leave them on, but you don't have to play with them. You may want to disable those if you're a new player. So I would definitely go beginner and then disable epochs, just so you've got less things going on. Also, you'll notice that I didn't turn on any story modules. They're interesting, but they just add fluff to the game without it really sort of adding much to what's going on. I'll keep it back on hard through there, and give AI more time to think. The way the game works is that it actually it's very cleverly written, the game itself, and Vic, the developer, is actually he works as a consultant on other games as well, because as an AI consultant to sort of help other developers actually with their approach to coding AI. And so what happens here is each AI in the game will actually figure out all these different plans that it can then make use of, and it will then try to implement those plans over the subsequent turns, and it will then review the plans at different times. So it's sort of like it doesn't just look at the situation every turn and figure out what to do. It actually has an overriding plan that it tries to then sort of move forward with, and you'll see that when you end a turn. Anyway, that's the giving it a bit more time to think. What it means is that it will still do all of the basic algorithms to sort of check what's going on, but giving it a bit more time, it may consider plans that it normally wouldn't, and so it may surprise you a little bit. Wiggly is saying, was there an update to Shadow Empire? Yes, there was recently. Nothing major though at this point in time. So there was just a question about how to get started in the game. But this screen here is quite important as well. The same as what was happening. I won't go through too much detail with the actual planetary generation. Planetary age, though, I will just point out this one here has a big impact with your whether you're going to have life or not. 2.3 billion years. There's a chance we're going to end up with alien life on our world, as with 2.3 billion years. Also, heavy elements. If you're new to the game, try to make sure this is always over 100%, because this will end up meaning your mining will be easier. So they're the two things to look out for here. Likely to end up with alien life, which you may not want to be playing with, but heavy elements down through here means mining is going to be good. We'll just go continue. Geology. I won't change anything that provides me. And also you can also just have a look and just click on the little random tab and close the tab and sort of zoom out and have a bit of a look. This is actually just shows the the actual rainfall of the and the depth of the oceans. And so we've got, for example, we've got where is it? This is it's got the heights as well. So you can see there, this is like 3 kilometre high mountains that run through here down to still fairly hilly type areas in through this other side. That's a low point there, and then you've got the depth of the ocean back in through this other side, and then this is rainfall. The little 11, 18, 27, etc. is the rainfall. And if we go and have a look, if I use the arrow keys, I can then go up into areas like there's going to be a desert that runs through there, for example. There'll be deserts. This is the reason for this particular one is we end up with deserts, which are great for armoured forces. So if we keep it here, we'll end up with a desert in here because there's no rain. But there is rain here. So let's just watch what actually happens if I click on random again. So I'm happy with that one. Wind speed will dictate really whether it's going to be viable for aircraft or not, and that's also then built on how thick the atmosphere is. So we'll just go continue. In this case, 24 meters per second is actually a lot. And so we're seeing actually it wasn't actually a desert as such, but it's just grasslands back out through this other side. I won't worry too much about this one, but this is actually, you can see there's there is actually a life form on the planet. This is a land-dwelling 2-meter top predator. It resembles a mollusk analogue. Its chemistry is hydrogen and fluoride carbon based, and it is oxygen breathing. So fairly substantial, predator. So we do actually have a predator that will be on the planet because it's had time, but there hasn't been enough time for sentient life forms. I would probably re-roll these, and you may have to go back and sort of restart again. If you're getting sentient life forms, it means you're going to have a difficult time on that score as well. And even though they're interesting, not for your first game, I wouldn't be worrying about it. And also, I would almost think it's probably better not to play with even any sort of life form. To be honest, it's going to be any sort of threat. 2 meters isn't too bad, but sometimes you get like 20 meter, sort of massive things that can be quite cumbersome. You don't really know until you get into the game, though. Let's just go continue. Then you've got the biosphere, just the history of what actually happened. So not very many people were there. Let's go continue again. This will then dictate how many ruins you have, and then you've got the war, the dissolution war. Down to 1.5 million people. Now, the thing you are looking for to make it easier for yourself is how this is then split up. You see through here, 94% of the people that are left on this world are farmers, which makes them very easy to deal with. If you've got raiders, you're going to have a hard time. If you've got scavengers, you're going to have a hard time. We've got 6% scavengers, 94% farmers. Hunters, you're going to have a bit of a hard time, but farmers, you're going to end up with an easy time. So that's really what you're looking for here is the percentage of farmers and you still won't have an easy time with it, but you have a much higher likelihood to be able to use diplomacy with them rather than needing to, like they'll try to strive for peace and secure borders pretty much before anything else. If we just go continue, this is just a summary of what we end up having. We'll just go and start the game. When it's insidious and deadly, it means we're going to be wearing spacesuits, which means we have better protection as well. So hi Richard, how are you going? And Dom UK. So Korasami saying hi as well. So hi guys. Rita's saying I would be interested to see a talk about this planning AI. I forget where I saw it. I've got some mods installed, by the way. I'll just put my logo, the ChatTactic logo, in through there. I won't worry too much about it. But this one is when you just click on OK, you have to make some choices in here. When you're playing the game, again, people may think, "Oh, I'll go enforcement. I'll make myself an evil empire." Initially just try to play to look after your own people. So I tend to go government. If I'm playing that way, I go government. I go if there's sentient life forms, I go mind. Otherwise, I go heart. So I'll go heart here. And democracy means that I can then buy off my population to make them happy. So I'm just going to go that way. That just makes it a little bit. You still have to do all the things you have to do. It's just slight tweaking of the way things will then sort of go and work. And it's not as if that's hard set. It just means the people that join you are more likely to have that aspect to them. So they're more likely to support you in those roles, but they don't have to. First turn, we'll just rattle through this stuff, which is always the same. This is the Zeitgeist. This is that age of whatever it is. You end up with some cards there, which I won't worry too much about going through here. I'll just go through the basics of the actual game itself. And so in this case, the Ascension speech, you have to make a choice. You always get this one. You'll notice that this has got Fist, Heart, and Mind, and you get more points for going for Fist or Mind. But the one that you've actually already selected, you've already got some points with Heart. So I tend to go that way unless there's a reason not to. And so in this case, I'm just going to keep on pushing the Heart profile up. I feel like doing a deeper dive on this, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to say, like as a rule of thumb, just go with whatever the one is that you chose at the start, which we chose Heart. You're going to get less points for that one because it's already further along in terms of what it does do. And I won't even open that up because that's another whole can of worms to then have a bit of a look at. So you don't have to look at that one. Now the Organisational Council, I tend to then hide what I'm looking at through here and just put the decisions away and come back to them. I'm just going to dismiss this. Sometimes you get messages saying that there's things close by. And so on this particular world, we've got grasslands all around us. We've got different things in through here. And so and if I'm just trying to just show the absolute basics of what to do in your first turn, you will need to make a decision about what to bring in, whether bring in the councils. If I go back and have a bit of a look, these are all the different councils you can bring back in, the administration, government administration. Economic Council is a very, very good one. That's going to then help with trying to find resources, so that could be important. The other ones that are interesting to bring in right at the very, very start is the Interior Council. Will actually help with your taxation and get you extra money, but the game is actually pretty good now with the money generation. The Staff Council is for people, but I probably wouldn't bother getting that one early. I'd get that one late. But the Interior Council can be an interesting one to bring in. It doesn't really advance you much, so I would say that by default, if you're not unsure, pick the Economic Council. The Military Research Council is also interesting because that will then get you through your research. These two here are your research councils. And I won't min-max why you should be doing different things. I'll very quickly touch on it. But if we go into our which one is it? Sorry, it's the God, I've completely lost where I go. Management. The management tabs in through here. In the tutorials that I've done, I always go to leader and see who is left over and try to match them up, which is sort of like something I can do. You can see there that we don't actually have anyone. Oh yeah, we've got this person here. So we've actually got somebody, and the thing we're looking for is their capability level. She's a capability level 4, which is really really rare to get someone like this. So she is, and just to see what her skill set is, she's a technician and an inventor. So she is going to be great at one of the research councils, and so she's going to be absolutely ideal to be brought in as a and so you can match them up. But even if she was a level 1, I would still suggest don't worry too much about this if you're a new player. But in this case, she is absolutely ideal for one of those two councils, either the military or the economic. But I'd say that by default, go with economic. So if we go back to the map, go back to our decision, and we'll just go and grab the Economic Council. So she will be in charge of that. But even if she was only a level 1 person, I can always reshuffle around at some other point in time. So don't get too caught up with what's actually going on through there. I'll just go back across. I keep on pressing WASD keys. This is strategic movement. I'm just going to press M just to get the movement back again. Sorry, I keep on doing that. At that point, you then are looking for, in your first turn, you're looking on the border to see if you can spot things like this, maxi base. What these do is these are free towns of population. If you can have them secured under your control, you're going to get, first of all, like random goods from those. So I tend to then be thinking, okay, look, I'm going to race down this way and have a bit of a look and just claim that, which means we're going to get a benefit as well as we're going to end up with more population inside our territory. Other things we'll have a look at is if there's roads, you want to go along the roads as much as you can, just to sort of try to see, okay, there's a liquid storage location. This will be something, we will actually have some trucks as well. Back and through here, I can actually move across, and we picked up that one. Again, this has got a, this is an asset. If we just click on the actual, that one through there, we can just see this is actually a mini reactor. This is going to give us power. Like, to find that at the start of the game is really, really good, because it's going to mean that I don't have to worry about power at all for a long period of time. That was just luck. But if you don't find that one, eventually you're going to have to figure out what to build. But in this case, we no longer have to worry about power as long as we can protect that. And just give them sort of, you don't get any benefit from actual terrain at all, other than special things like this. But you do need to be in a position to be able to defend. So I do like to sort of get defendable locations, but these give you a benefit. When you see an icon, that's going to give you a benefit as well. So just go along the roads, just sort of see where the roads lead, if there's anything else. But I won't go through all the detail with that one through there. Then you will need to go and you can see down through this other side, we've got actual like cash. Cash will become a bit short for us. You do need to make sure you've always got like a turn's worth of cash on hand, which is about 200 at the start of the game. Don't spend more than that. Just makes, because you don't want to run out of cash, otherwise you're going to collapse. This is political points. This is fate points, but there's that hidden thing I was talking about. If we go into the reports and have a bit of a look, the thing that it talks about is next turn BPs, and it doesn't ever say, but this is the whole game revolves around BPs. And bureaucratic points is what it is. And it doesn't mention it anywhere in the game, which makes it really, really difficult. But this is actually what the whole game is around, getting these bureaucratic points. And then what it does is it then makes use of them. In this case, it's got the... it's going to be splitting the Supreme Command Council and Economic Council 67%, 33%. 80 bureaucratic points have gone in this turn into the Supreme Command Council, and it's then split it between getting different sorts of cards. But this is really all you're really interested in, is getting those. So let's talk about how we get more of those. So if we go back to the actual city itself and click on the city and then go to construct, if you go to government, you'll then find that you've got a few different things. You're wanting to get the bureaucratic officers, which will give you 200 BPs. Not, I wish it would say bureaucratic points. This is BP production per round of 200 is a real lot, and so you need to get the one, but you need to get to civilization level 2 before that'll happen. Now that'll just happen through osmosis, so don't worry about that. It will happen at some point. Just be aware that you want that when you can get it. At the very, very start of the game, if you're not sure of anything else that you really want to be building, you have this building here, which will give you another 40 BP. So that's an easy one to get right from the very, very start. You do need a fair bit of metal, and you also need a fair amount of industrial points, which are over through here. I've got the metal, I've got the industrial points. This is per turn. It's going to be 4 rounds to build this one. I'll just start the upgrade in this instance. You don't have to. You may find other things are more important for you. Like, for example, we can't afford this one, but there will be other things you could afford. Getting solar panels, for example, will give you 50 if you need it. You can sort of go and do that. Make sure you've always got, like, check your resources and trade for them if you need, or build or trade for them, which I won't go through how to do all that. But essentially, just keep in mind, bureaucratic points are the name of the game. I'm just going to start the upgrade there. So that'll be 4 turns, and it will then start to chew through these over time. So I don't need to really spend anything else. I'll just, rather than end the turn now, what I'll do is I will show you also another thing that's worth doing as a new player, is to go and go to your reports, call your secretary, and resign your commission. So if we do a resignation, shocked to hear so, sir, we've prepared the paperwork, it's on your desk, so okay. And so now we have a decision to resign, yes or no. It does cost a political point to do this one, so I'm going to go yes, and just click on OK, and then I'm just going to end the turn. It'll still play out that turn, but the reason to resign for a few games and just have a look, you could even save your game and then come back to it after you resign. But what it does is it gives you a very, very clear picture of what the planet is like. You may also want to play with Fog of War turned off, but you still won't see what you're actually up against, whereas this will show you what you're actually up against. So we're seeing different sort of creatures now coming in out of the wilds. Start the turn, click. So this is a treasure you found in the zone Aurora. They found a whole lot of money, so we've got money at that location. Money is probably the least important stuff that you can find, but often sometimes you'll find equipment, which can be very, very good. And found ancient storage near liquid storage in zone Aurora. Another 280 credits have been recovered. Admin level has risen to 4. And again, this just happens itself. And you have resigned. There we are. So we end up sort of back in through here. But what that one does is it now shows the whole map. And if we have a bit of a look to see what's going on, we then got a group down this way. This is one of the minor civilizations. And if we have a look to see what they actually are, this is the Valerius nation. And so these are confeds. And so these are going to have, like, Confederates essentially going to be much more... they're going to be militant, but not in an aggressive way. So they would be sort of more of a sort of a militant farmerish type group. These are the wilds where we're going to sort of see the different types of animals. So we can sort of go and have a bit of a look to see what they've got. This is and again you can actually so this is like a grazer rhino is essentially what this type of alien actually is. We've got a tow dog in through here as well. There's heaps of them in through this other side. By clicking on them, you can see how dangerous they would actually be. These are very, very not dangerous at all. Actually, no, they are. They're pretty strong. These are pretty strong, but not against armour. They're good against infantry, but not against armoured forces. So getting some armoured cars would be enough to round these things up and kill them off. So you can actually just have a bit of a look to see what the different things are in through here. There's a red devourer. This is possibly the one that was the main one that we'd have to then go and deal with. This is their attack defense, so they defend poorly but attack strongly. And there will be other things like, for example, there's a scavenger predator. This is only 1 metre, so this is not the one that we're looking at. So, but it does have Entangler. So for every attack value, for every level, attack values are doubled. The chance to do damage instead of readiness loss is halved. So again, they do different sorts of things with the actual aliens. So they've got different abilities. But by ending a game early like this, you can then sort of have a bit of a look to see, what you're likely to come up against. So this one here is the, it's 1 metre long. It's a grazer herbivore, so it does have an acrobat. Up to 40% combat bonus in forests and ruins per level, so it actually works in well with that one. Let's have a bit of a look. These things in through here are going to be marauders. These are just biped cavalry. They move very, very quickly. I've seen these. I'll just look for the... Oh, here we go. This is possibly the actual main... This is a Moorbeast. And this is the 2 metre top predator in the game. So this is actually the worst of the actual aliens. This is a killer apex predator. It's got a chameleon 3, so it can hide. It's going to be hard to spot. A trapper, so up to 40 entrenchment points per level, and also acrobat 2. So again, has combat bonuses in forests and ruins. And so if this thing's in the forest or in ruins, it's going to be hard to spot. So you've got like marauder type humans as well in amongst the different groups. But what's interesting with this is to mainly just have a look to see what sort of people you have around you. Like for example, this group in through here is a group of Brutustat is Guardians. Again, these are going to be... the name sort of describes what they are, but these are essentially going to be... if we go and click on them, I don't think we can see exactly what Guardians are, but they all have different personality types when you deal with them. In this case, we're going to find them to be fairly... Ultimately, they would actually go with diplomacy. I'll just zoom out to see if we can find some others. This is another This looks to be another major. Yeah, we've got a major faction through here. These are Republicans. Again, they're going to be friendly, pretty much. Just zoom out so we can have a bit of a look to see what's going on. There's another group up this way. These are theocrats. So again, they're sort of going to be more religious. Got groups over through this other side. Oh, it's a surviving AI. Okay, you end up with some unusual things in this case. We do actually have an AI. This is sort of going to be a little bit like Skynet, a little bit like Terminators. They possibly will become aggressive. They usually will. Just go a bit further out, have a bit more of a look around. So but to just just evaluate what you see, you know, and then start again a few times. Just that way you get a feel for what the actual planet is like. I'm not seeing too many of the other minor factions in through here, actually. Yeah, it's a big world. It's a big world. Oh, there's another one. These are more Guardians, again. These are militarists. These are a major faction. So these would become a problem. These ultimately, like in the long term, they would become a problem for us. These are mercanteers, so these are going to be much more about trading. And again, you can sort of see that this one's got a very much a diplomatic flavour. Then we've got another major up this way. There's a fair few majors in this one. These are theocrats as well. Different sort of group. So there's different groups across the world, but that gives you a very, very clear picture of what the world is like. And so you can save beforehand, do that, and then reload in. At least you're then not going to be too surprised with what you see. These are confeds again. Is that near the one near us? No, it's not there. Anyway, I hope that helps. But that's just gives you a few clues at the very, very start. Let's just get out of that one. So we'll quit the game. Okay, so and quit. Yeah, if you start on those sorts of worlds, it's not going to be too difficult, particularly if you're playing on beginner. So Tenra is saying, "Hey Daz, I finished my last game on extreme. Early game was difficult. AI sprints ahead tech-wise. Yes, yeah. But again, strategy then has to kick in with that one. It makes it sort of quite hard. You've then got to defend really, really well." Hi Matthew, how are you going? So you're saying it would be interesting to see talk about this planning AI. I'm not sure where he may have told. I know that there was. I've had discussions with Vic a few times, and he had mentioned something like that he was working on other things. But he does a very, very good job with his AI. Like his AI is unbelievably good. Dominic is saying hi. Richard's saying hi as well. I think we might have said those. I think I've already gone past those ones. So Korosami is saying I made the mistake of starting a Distant Worlds 2 game pretty late last night. Ended up playing till 3 a.m. That game just gets better and better and better, which is surprising based on what you read about it. Like the actual more recent reviews actually go negatively, which is sort of strange. So Ricardo's saying, "Hey Daz, do you know anything about a future Shadow Empire expansion?" Yeah, it's not hidden. It's that's actually all exposed. If you want to see it, let's just go to it. If we click on here and what's it called? VR Designs, I think. VRDesigns.net. So VRDesigns.net is this is a developer, is actually Vic himself. Future Navies poll, this was done in December. So you can see he doesn't often put things up through here, but any information about his games is going to be here more than anywhere else. So if you're actually sort of interested to sort of see how things actually do work. And so this is actually where people have actually asked for how navies, so he is considering what to do with navies. He is asking the question. So yeah, it's sort of essentially it's back and through here. I think I must have voted for hex based, but C zone based is pretty much what people are wanting at this point in time. So I did actually ask for hex based. I think I prefer that one, but that still would be okay. C zone based would be fine as well. So as long as there's navies in the game would be actually great. There's a development update. This was in October, but you will find. This is like again just looking for the development polls. That was a year ago. This is actually his. This is actually what's happening now. I know that there's more stuff happening with this one here. So this is actually now fairly old with what's actually happened. But each one of these areas, Oceania DLC was then launched. The core engine work of 1.25 has sort of now been pretty much all been done, I think, and then it's got the core engine rework for Republica, and so I think Republica is the next one that's sort of coming, and so this is actually now what he's working on. So he's done the minor culture variations, which we just had a look at there with the farmers being split into confeds, Republicans, things like that. So we've got the different areas in through there. We've got advanced politics. More planet varieties, advanced trade, stratagem diversity, critter fun. Then we go into Militaria, which is going to be the next DLC after that one, and that's going to ultimately be like naval units at that point. So we're a long way off with naval units. Advanced military rules, post-apocalyptic ambience back and through that other side, and then a core engine rework back and through that other side, which I'm assuming that's probably when mods would then come in. And then he's got like other things, other ideas for games coming off this. But he does share a lot of this information. It doesn't get updated very often, but when he does update it, it's usually worth a read on that particular, on what he's actually got there. But that's the so that's actually where that was done. That was over a year ago, a year and a bit ago, was where this actually launched. But he's done most of the stuff, through here, and he's just picking his way through. Now he doesn't religiously stick with what's going on here. He knows that everyone wants Navy units, so he may push that one further forward. I think I've seen something where he was actually tossing up whether to do that, but he's got a lot of thinking to do with Navy units. That's why it didn't end up in Oceania, and I don't think Oceania should have released without actually having naval units in it. That should have been part of this, and that should have been sorted before Oceania was released. I think it was a mistake to release that particular DLC without the naval units in it. Anyway, that's VR Designs. That's Vic's actual page. So he's got a lot of really, really cool games as well, by the way. I've been playing Vic's games from his very, very first game, which was a free game called People's Tactics, way, way back in the day. I don't even think he's got it listed. Maybe under other... Yeah, there it is. That was his very, very first game, People's Tactics. That was a free game, and that was really the start of Shadow Empire. People's Tactics, you'll probably even be able to see some... developed in 2004. There's an installer there. I wouldn't recommend getting it. Advanced Tactics then came off that one, so Advanced Tactics Gold is still a great game. This is still being developed, so there's I love this game. So won the War Gamer of the Year Silver Award, back in the day. But yeah, there's a lot of that was awesome. And then, of course, decisive campaigns as well. I skipped over this one to my detriment. I actually ended up really, really enjoying this when I played it, but it was years after it was released, and that's extremely well done. And so Shadow Empire is a bit of a hybrid of all of these different things in through here. So you end up with essentially the Shadow Empire stuff in through this other side. But it's interesting actually, just the backstories that actually happened through there. Okay. So Tina is saying, why does diplomacy feel so useless in Shadow Empire? It's the worst feature of the game. It's not useless, it's actually overpowered, which is why I tend not to use it. I have a little house rule of not doing it. So I tend not to use diplomacy. But diplomacy, again, depending on who you're up against. I'll start another game on a difficult world and show you what I mean. So in that world, diplomacy would have been quite easy. And that's why looking at farmers is the key if you're a new player and you are happy to sort of try to become friendly with certain groups and then unfriendly with others, and your actions will dictate how they think about you as well. So you've got to be a good neighbour to have good neighbours, except if you start off in a dangerous world. So let's go and start off in a dangerous world. The most dangerous I think would be either like a barren world or a lava world. So let's go with a lava world. I'll just go and start a new game. I'll just rattle through these. Lava worlds tend not to have any life on them, but they are interesting. Cerberus is a lava world. Let's go continue, continue. So this is 0.2 billion years, which means that there's never going to be life on this one here. Just rattle out this one through. There's not going to be any surface water. These are lava lakes. So you've got all sorts of other. This becomes much more difficult to play. Just go continue. This has got heaps more people on it than what was there before. But this will be mainly... See how this is actually now split between scavengers and raiders? We don't have any farmers or hunters at all on this world. And so this, if we go continue and start the game, we have a very, very different game to play now. Even in terms of... we can't... Like, diplomacy is just not going to work on this world. So, again, I'll just grab one of my logos. By the way, the reason my game looks different to other games, and I do recommend that people grab this mod that I've made for the terrain. The terrain shows the important stuff in it. Actually, sorry, I'll just go and grab this one. I'll just grab any old thing from the top here. So on my maps, you can sort of see when there's mountains and hills and forests. It gives you a very quick visual overview. I think that Vic really should include something like that in the game itself, and I hope that he does do that at some point. But if you are new to the game, I do highly, highly recommend my own mod. I'm doing a bit of a shameless plug here because I can't play without it, to be honest. And so I built it because I couldn't play without. It was driving me nuts not knowing what was where. I'll just go and throw these things back. And so this is, if I just dismiss that one, and you've got danger, dismiss. So this is a much, much more dangerous world. We're on the edge of a lava lake here. It's not ocean, so we don't get the benefit of any sort of water. If we go and resign now, so what was I just talking about? See how I've got like sand dunes have shown? These actually have a bearing on like anything to do with military. I've tried to sort of show like ruins. You can hide in ruins. Mountains are very, very important. Hills are very important, but it's often hard to see the difference between hills and mountains. If you are wanting this particular mod, I'll show you where to grab it. If you go back across and go to ko-fi.com/ChatTactic. If you go to, that's my own coffee.com page. And so if you go into here, it's free, but this is actually just, I find this easier just to put the various stuff in there. So it's in the shop. So go to the shop, and in the shop you'll then find there's a few of them. There's actually just the Shadow Empire Terrain Icons mod, and you also, if you've got the Mroya Terrain mod, you can actually use this to add them into his mod. So these then provide the various updates in through there, but they're completely free. Just basically click on it and then download it. And so a lot of people do use this mod. So this is a very, very popular mod. But you just go and grab it. You don't have to pay anything. Just put 0 in there and grab the mod. So so that's so that way you can see exactly what terrain you're dealing with in the actual game itself. There is actually instructions on how to install it. It's very, very easy to install. You just basically pop it into your like over the top of the game directory. So I think there's instructions inside the zip file that it comes with. But that's I would highly, highly, highly recommend that if you're a new player to Shadow Empire, because it will really spell out what you need to do. Like for example, this here is actually still this is rocky plains back in through this other side. Underneath that we've got sand dunes back over this other side, and these will then have a big bearing on how you attack or defend. Like for example, motorized and tanks in sand dunes don't work well, even though it may look like it's open desert. Rocky plains, on the other hand, are fine for tanks and motorized. So that's no problem at all. And you can't entrench all that well into there. I don't think you can entrench into here either. But it's sort of easier to defend a sand dune than it is to defend a rocky plain against tanks. If you're in the mountains, the tanks can't go into the mountains, and you can sort of see through there. It's It's got major problems when I hover over that one again. For motorised and tanks, they really struggle attacking into those and defending into those sorts of areas. So it's and hills are sort of interesting. These are all very defendable locations because of what you can then go and do, and same with ruins as well. But just having the you can see ruins clearly, but quite often hills and that things. There's different types of what was I going to say? There's different types of forests as well in some games, so just be aware of that. If we now just quickly go and go to our reports, call in the secretary and resign again, and just go yes, resign, click on OK, and if I just end the turn, if you end the turn without doing all of your decisions, it will just make an informed one for you. Okay, so let's go in. You can see the different groups moving in aggressively against us. Start turn. And now we can see the whole lot. And if we just zoom out a little bit, we can then sort of see this is a group of, this is a territory. These are roaders. These are like Mad Max. Backing through this other side. That's all one big group of roaders. And so these will be very hard to stop. They'll just be running everywhere. So then we've got Mad Max civilization there. This one here are raiders. They're going to be looking for opportunity. They're not going to be looking to talk with you. There's other groups down this way. These are farmers. So we do actually have some farmers. They would be trying for diplomacy. So we do have a farming group down that way. They're next to more raiders. Back over here, we've got militarists. So these are going to be, this is a major regime. So they're going to be looking to attack you. It's the same one there. But all of them will now have a much more aggressive theme because the planet is not conducive to farming. This is a militarist group. They start off with friends, but that doesn't mean much. Militarist means that they're going to be looking for military advantage. Slavers, back up through there. See, the complexion is very different. Nomads are annoying because they've actually got groups that can actually move very quickly, and these are actually in a nuclear wasteland. Back out through this other side. These are mercanteers, so they're more likely to trade. So you will get some that will be likely to trade, but just having a bit of a look through this group through here are roaders again. So again, Mad Max, mercanteers back and through that side. Guardians, so they're going to be reasonably friendly. Back on the other side there, and another major faction up through this other side, theocrats. So religious sort of fanatics. But this one over through here are theocrats. Sorry, these are roaders. Theocrats up that way as well. And theocrats can be aggressive, in the game. Guardians back in that way. So each little faction. These are nomads with their sort of like their beasts of burden that they sort of work with. Militarists, which are hostile. So it's interesting. Each one of them is it's quite different across the actual map. But that's why these dangerous planets end up with more dangerous groups which won't use diplomacy or are unlikely to sort of use diplomacy. All right, let's just quit out of this now. We've spent way too long doing things. Okay, so anyway, that's Shadow Empire. Highly recommend it. I do highly recommend my own mod here. Again, I can't play without it, and I know a lot of people have said the same thing as well. So but you can grab that just from ko-fi, so coffee.com/ChatTactic. Right, that's done. Okay, now what did we get up to? Okay, so hi ZXM, how you going? the ball game saying, Daz, your initial videos in 2020 per Shadow Empire is what sold me on day one of release. Hundreds of hours to include 25 play-by-emails games later. Okay, that's cool. And yeah, that's actually really cool, actually. The play-by-email, you can certainly play it that way as well. I've only ever played one, and that was before release, and it was very, very difficult, very frustrating. That was sort of, we recorded that one actually. That was yeah, quite different. Michael's saying, hi ZXM, did you finish Firmageddon yet? Actually, I did mention at the start, I've actually now got Firmageddon. We might have a look at that as well. I might go through some of the games that I picked up this week, and that was one of them. So ZXM was saying, no, never finished. I'll go back to it, but got enticed by Wizard Warfare 2, the Cephalid Wars for a bit, and Age of Wonders 4. I get easily distracted. I do too as well, to be honest, with what's going on. Michael's saying, yeah, just completed it today. Having my eyes on Swordhaven. I don't know that one. I'll just skip through a few of these. Superclass Planet, no aliens, spread out, Tech 4, beginner, disable epochs, more time to think, heavy elements over 100, sentient life forms, supreme count. There we go. That's it. So Thraknar, that is the key. Siwa class though is essentially an Earth-like planet. So you're going to end up with forests, you're going to end up with sort of grasslands and good farming. It will also allow you to have Earth crops. So it's a different way of playing as well. So Swordhaven is good, says ZXM. I will have to look into it. Nice to catch a live show, says Guy. Yeah, I did sleep in, so I did start a bit late. Kurosami was saying, such a great game. I do admit for a new player, the onboarding experience is very rough. Not sure which one you're referring to there. It took me a while to discover the true beauty of Distant Worlds 2. There we are. Yeah, okay, we're talking about Distant Worlds 2 there. I've added Hex also, says George. There we are. Gary Hex saying, hi Daz, what's your opinion on the released ATOOK screenshots? I hate ATOOK from the first game, like from Distant Worlds 1. It's sort of funny because I'm in the beta, but I haven't actually done the beta testing of the ATOOK or the Wecarus. So if we go across, let's actually go to Distant Worlds and have a quick look. One thing I've been told is I really should have a look at it. So that's something that I actually so I do take that on board. I can't believe that the reviews are 62% for this game. This is such a great game. Like 71% is where it is. That is also way lower than what it should be. This should be at least an 85% in my opinion. Like it's such a good game. Let's just go down and see if we can see the ATOOK Dev Diary, which came out a few days ago. It looks great. The ATOOK says the youngest starfarer of the galaxy. They're highly sociable and are eager to take their place amongst the other factions of the galaxy. These are the hobbits of space. So the Teekans are as well. There's 2 hobbit factions in Distant Worlds universe. The Teekans and the ATOOKs. For me, I put them in the same category. I just don't like them. I didn't like them in the original game. They do actually have some interesting aspects about them, but they're cutesy little fluffy things, which and I tend not to really like them at all. You can see through here, if I go and click on the screenshot, they've got slight aggression, which is actually that's actually interesting. They're very reckless, which means that they will be all over the place, but they are very dependable. Reproduction rate is rapid. This is, for me, they're sort of like they breed like crazy, so they're sort of everywhere. Migration tendency, they're nomadic roamers. They'll just go everywhere, and their assimilation rate is they're extremely compliant. So if you end up with getting an ATOOK world, you may have to constrain them to that one world. Otherwise, they're going to end up all over the place, and so they end up just breeding like crazy, which is sort of why I found them a bit annoying. You can see that they're actually pretty dumb. Like their research is terrible. Their happiness is extremely high. Their diplomacy, so on and so forth, is all very low. Just go back. Whoops, where are we? Yeah, so they this is their ships. They're sort of going to be unusual ships, to be honest, as well. But I have been told that they're fun to play by other people. Other beta testers have said you got to try them because they're actually good fun. So, and I know that every faction that they've fleshed out like this, I have actually enjoyed playing. So, I think I'll have to at some point, but I'm really not looking forward to it. Like it's one of those things. It's like Hobbits from Age of Wonders 3. I found them ridiculous, and I fear I'm going to struggle with the Artooks as well. So it's things like, what does this button do? It's just these jokey type things, and they remind me initially of this Snaffy that came into Galactic Civilizations. I think they came in Gal Civ 3, and I hated them. But it's funny because now I actually quite like the Snaffy. I like what they've done with them. They're a little bit like Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. They're sort of that sort of style, but they when they started, they were just little cute creatures. They were extremely aggressive, and so the Snaffy I've warmed to from Gal Civ. Will I warm to the Artooks? I just don't know. I do actually have it. I've been playing a lot of Distant Worlds too, and I've got a lot of streams coming up actually on the Slytherin channel as well with Distant Worlds. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show the new factions yet, so I haven't actually even though I've got it, I haven't installed it. I've just been watching, the comments from people. But my outside reaction is negative about the Artooks. Very positive with the Wekarus. I'm looking forward to them. They're going to be really quite interesting. The ships look great. Like these do look very, very good for the Artooks. Got to keep on clicking the wrong thing there. But yeah, no, it's So for me, I don't know. I like the look of it, but I don't like the theme of it. Is how that Michael's saying hobbits and halflings are the same thing. So yeah, it's. So that's that one through there with the Artook, which I'm looking forward to that release, but I don't know if the Artooks will be the focus of what I look at. I think it'll be the Wekarus, but I feel like I'm going to have to play it because people have been saying it is actually pretty cool. Yeah, Drexy's saying Wekarus with a love heart. Yeah, there we are. So Wekarus look very, very, very good. It's sort of funny because I really would have thought that and people have mentioned this I've seen it in a few things, that people really, really like the Securans, and I do too. They were one of my favourite factions from Distant Worlds 1, and I know that they're coming next year, but or at the end of this year or something. I forget when the Securans are coming, but they're on the way, so they will come eventually. But yeah, the Artook and Wekarus back and through this other side, coming on the 4th of April, so we are actually a month away. With what's going on with that one through there. That's the planned release date in 3 weeks' time. So it is on its way. But the Wekarus look really, really good. I don't know if we can sort of see the Wekarus. Yeah, no, I'm not sure. These are mainly focused on the Artooks. I'm guessing they're going to show the Wekarus soonish. These are Wekarus ships, I think. Again, I haven't really had a good look at this. Oh, there we go. There's the Wekarus ships. So these are aquatics, but they look and they're not very friendly. Like they're a pretty aggressive faction. So they should be good fun. I'm looking forward to those. All right, let's just go back out again. Now, the other things, Fernageddon, that does look interesting, Fernageddon. I'll just go back up the top, so I keep on missing comments here. Where did we get to? So Kurosami's been saying Eric and Eric's one of the developers, did mention that they were working on improving the Galactopedia and such, so new players' experience should be better. Actually, one of the biggest problems I've got with the game is the colour system in the game, like for different factions. They are going to work on that as well at some point. I'm not sure when, but they have actually mentioned that a few times. So I've left a lot of feedback about how poor the colour system is in Distant Worlds. For me, it's like the biggest user experience problem in the game. Okay, Project Zomboid got a new update. That always gets a new update, unless it's a major one. I'm sort of running out of time, so I'm going to have to start to move things along. Ricardo's then saying, besides Shadow of Empire, I've been playing decisive campaigns and enjoying it. Didn't even notice it was the same dev at the time. Yeah, no, and each game is sort of followed on from People's Tactics into Advanced Tactics into decisive campaigns, and then from there developing Shadow Empire, and just a work of art. Like absolutely incredible what he's done, as with each iteration. Gary Oak saying, Oceania without the Navy, I find the maritime trade houses to be too bare bones. I just like the static maritime trade house events. I do too. That's why I don't play with them. I find them boring. I just don't like it. See, saying I find the maritime trade houses push you into economy so hard because if you use them and can afford it, you need to be nice to them, which also eats into your IP, especially in the early game. There are benefits to it, but I never warmed to the maritime trade house idea. I think you should be able to have your own navies. Tenor is saying, I mean, just because I'm next to raiders shouldn't mean that I can't make peace with them due to stupid high rolls, especially when I'm winning. I mean, there are never suits for peace when losing. No, but again, it's sort of like it's for me, it's a war game at its heart, like Shadow Empire. It's I know that when I've spoken to Battle Mode about it, he sees it as much as like a role play game, and I can see that as well. But for me, it's a war game. It's basically so, like I don't play diplomatically in the game. I just try to play it with combat because I enjoy it. But yeah, if you've got farmers around you, and as long as you sort of start off nicely, they will tend to play nicely as well. All right, so because your actions do have a bearing, there's like a bad boy type scenario with that as well. Gary's in saying to CB, I wouldn't mind different MTHs require a different profile to improve relationship, but they're all the same. I don't like them. I think it was interesting, but for me it wasn't really something that I thought was all that great. Looks like I'm late to the party. Looking forward to watching from the start. You've mainly just been talking about Shadow Empire today, and we did start off with a. Actually, where did I get to? Sorry. So Thraknar is saying thank you, Daz. Yeah, not a problem. Hope that helps. Actually, I like to show games like Shadow Empire and try to help people with them because it's such a good game. Like when you get into it, it's like, oh wow, this is such a great game. Kurosami is saying, I really like how they've approached the Artooks in Distant Worlds 2, the little fluffy orcs. I don't know. Jury's out for me. We'll see what actually happens. So Drexy's in sort of saying Distant Worlds 2 is the only 4X worth playing at the moment for me. There's a lot around, but yeah, Distant Worlds 2, I'll always happily play that game. Showing off the ship designs now, which is cool. See the mixed reviews as a result of bad onboarding process. I reckon many bounce off Distant Worlds 2 because of it. Yeah, I think it's. I think also people expect it to be like Stellaris, and it's just not. It's a very, very different game. So I'm looking forward to trying the Artooks out. They seem so crazy. Yeah, says Wiggly. I don't know. For me, it's I don't like that aspect of things. But people who have played it have said, yep, they're great. When the most important tips and eventual gameplay mechanics are only explained in forums and in random comment section, it's not good. Yeah, that's true. Having neglected, and that's I think one of the things where as they've patched things in, like even the distance. You have to know that there's a distance tool in the game. It doesn't have a button for it yet, and that's the sort of thing that should actually have its own button. And so those sorts of things in Distant Worlds 2 should be fleshed out better. So Kurosami is saying, hoping the Galactopedia improvement will go a long way to address this. They've certainly, the Galactopedia is certainly better than Distant Worlds 1, which was very, very lacking, but it still was built on the same model as Distant Worlds 1. They really do need to have its own system where you can search and do things like that. So, and cross-reference. It needs to almost be like a mini wiki within the game itself, or separate from the game. Having a game like, for example, Dwarf Fortress has got the Dwarf Fortress wiki, which works incredibly well as a resource outside the game. But for a real-time game, maybe a wiki's not really the way to go externally. Like I was saying, hobbits and halflings, same thing, yes. Okay, so George is saying, I'm just glad is this like Stellaris questions have mostly stopped. I think it's a relevant question, actually, to be honest. I'll defend the people who actually asked that question because people who are asking that question are coming from a very, very distinct mindset, and they're exactly the people that need to be shown that it's actually not a board game style game like Stellaris is, that it's a much more of a simulation game. And so I actually really don't mind that question. Actually, Matthew then saying, "Is it like Stellaris though?" But no, I welcome that. I welcome that question whenever it's asked, for the simple reason that it gives me like when I'm streaming the game, I then know exactly what mindset people are coming and asking, and why they're asking it, because they want to like the game, but B, it's too foreign in the way that it plays for them to be able to get into it. And quite often with most games, it's the approach you go in with is will dictate whether you like the game or not. And so I think a lot of the review scores are because they approach it like a Stellaris game and then don't like it. And it's not the way you play Distant Worlds 2. Yep, so Wiggly is saying, I didn't like the halflings due to the bullshit random chance of blocking an attack, but I don't mind them because they're small. I think that Master of Magic did halflings well, like even though they were fairly strong, but they were. But I think that worked. I think that Dominion 6 or any of the Dominions games does halflings well. They're the Hobyars from Dominion 6. That works well because it relies on lots and lots of small units, but they're very, very weak. So I think that they're modelled well. But Age of Wonders 3 really screwed them up with that completely random number generated aspect of luck. Which I really hated in Age of Wonders, almost to the point where I felt I needed to get rid of that DLC. But the DLC had brought in so many other good things with it, and when somebody actually wrote a mod to get rid of the luck mechanic, it was like, yep, that's okay. It was then fun for me to play again. Korosami is saying, took enjoyers appeal to a very specific type of player, the same who like playing as Warhammer 40k orcs, I reckon. I don't know. See, it's funny you say that, because that's not how I see the Artooks at all. I see them as hobbits. I don't see them as orcs. I'm glad you said that, because now I probably will go in with that mindset as we're talking about a very chaotic faction, and maybe that is what I needed. So thank you for that comment, because I do enjoy playing as the Warhammer 40k orcs, particularly in Gladius. But that's so I'll try to keep that in mind when I do play them. Random chaos of their special abilities being a big factor. So Wiggly is saying tomorrow, maybe latest update was on Tuesday. I'm not sure what that is. They're focusing on the best, but the Artooks, says Dom UK. Hello here from your recent Quasimorph video, says Evan. Oh, thank you for that. Now, Quasimorph is another game that is just going to get better and better and better over time, by the way, guys. And I have to stop myself from making content, because I know it's going to get boring if I put too much out. Every time there's an update, it's fairly substantial. And I love playing Quasimorph. Quasimorph you can play in like half an hour, play a mission, and it's in the last few weeks the game has become much more difficult to get through missions. So and I think they may have to rebalance it back a little bit, but things are now starting to make sense. Like when you go into a location, the theme of the location is really prominent now in Quasimorph. So anyway, welcome Evan. Bilko's saying, really enjoying Distant Worlds 2 now. I think I'll always be a noob though. It's sort of like Distant Worlds 2 I just love, and I think it's one of those games you just sort of ease into it and you just do it. So actually saying need more YouTubers to play Distant Worlds. Well, I keep on, again, it's another game that I don't like to play too much of, just because I can play it forever, like it's one of those things I know I've got like Fortress Friday, which I forgot to upload Fortress Friday the other day. I will have to I've got it there ready to go. I just got to do the uploads. I'll try to get that done this week. And I've also got last week's Fortress Friday as well. But maybe I should do a Distant Worlds Tuesday or something like that. Just to sort of have like a theme for Distant Worlds. That might be fun actually. And do that maybe on YouTube. I'm not sure. So fixing the colour would be awesome, says Don. Well, they are looking at it. And I think that, again, I wish that they would just superficially fix it so we could actually edit our own colours and then do it properly at some other point. So Rex is saying, to be honest, there's stuff I don't fully understand. Oh, it's a big game. Korosami saying to Drex, he would 100% would love to see more content creators streaming Distant Worlds 2. Well, yeah, actually, maybe I should do that a bit more on YouTube more so than Twitch, actually, and do it on a regular basis. It's because the games are so big. Maybe when this DLC comes out in a month's time, I might start doing that, actually, playing as maybe the Weckerus, just so, at least I know I'm going to enjoy playing as a Weckerus. So Tenro saying, I often struggle with war in Distant Worlds 2. I'm so used to choke points and doom stacks from Stellaris that I can't stand it when AI swarms my empire with their mini fleets. That's often, that aspect is to do with automation and on automating your navies. I will every time I stream Distant Worlds, I always show that because it makes the game so much more approachable to be able to then sort of watch and see what's going on. And so it's like your Navy templates are the key to being able to do all of those sorts of things in the actual game itself. Now, what did we get up to? Sorry, I just skipped forward. So somebody else saying, anything you can tell us about the new Galactic 4 Galaxy 4 DLC? I see Talziana is due for release. I've got to start playing that, actually. I've got it. I haven't actually started to play with it. So and I will be doing that probably a little bit on my own time initially, and then I will be putting content out for Galaxy 4. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But I haven't actually started looking at that one yet. Korosami was saying, Tenru, one thing that took me a long while to adapt is to how Distant Worlds 2 approaches fleets. So you can afford to field many fleets. It's actually the best choice. Yeah, it's sort of one of those things. You need to have lots of little fleets to do sort of like basic things like raiding. You need medium-sized fleets for defending, and you need large fleets for attacking. So, but you can automate all those things in the game. An additional 4x space strategy, you tend to have 3 or 4 big fleets at max, but in Distant Worlds 2 it's much better to have many more. I tend to have 1 or 2 large, and then a fair number, depending on how many. Like I try to have 1 defence fleet for every system that I control, unless I know that they're safe, and then I have a few raiding fleets just to sort of take out infrastructure. Yeah, Korosami is saying smaller fleets play a big part, yes, and that can be all automated. Guy saying, will you be doing a new tutorial teaching video for Shadow Empire? I will when a major release comes out, but I probably won't until then. If naval units came in, I'd definitely do one. But if there was something big, I've done them to show information, like when the different types of factions came out. I thought that was incredibly great. You know, like that was a really good addition just to the base game, and so I did a video on just that. But yeah, I will be. Shadow Empire I do enjoy playing, but yeah, I don't have any plans on doing anything until something big comes with that particular game. Tenor is saying to Korosami, I know it's necessary, but I hate the micromanagement that comes with many fleets, and since I distrust the automation in that regard, I feel like it's a chore to manage so many fleets. No, the automation is good. Overall, it's good. Sometimes they'll go off and retrofit exactly when you don't want them to, but generally it's very, very good. So Muppet's saying Stellaris is better as an RPG with strategy. So in that sense, the role play aspect of Distant Worlds is weaker in comparison for many different reasons, but the actual combat in Distant Worlds is far superior. Because each field of fire of the individual ships matters. The degree of design that you have on the ships matters a lot. There's a lot of things that goes into Distant Worlds that, for me, really elevates it with what it actually does do. Okay, so what do we get up to? So Invictus is saying, are you a programmer, Daz? What language do you like the most? It's like C++. I've always been interested in programming. I'm a graphic designer. That's my actual job. But I have dabbled with actual programming. But I also did a lot of sort of like web programming using PHP and MySQL databases and stuff like that. But I actually don't enjoy it. I've been shying away from doing websites for some time now. I just don't like doing the coding. I can do it, and I've done some pretty big sites, but I just haven't really I just don't enjoy it. Even the databasing, I sort of enjoy the puzzle aspect of it, but I hate doing the maintenance on websites and stuff like that. So yeah, I've now sort of tried to just stick purely with graphics. Korosami is saying, Tenry, the Fleet Tactics box make it very to make your fleets behave exactly like you want them. Yes, even when they're set to manual, exactly. That really is the key to playing with ships in Distant Worlds 2. Otherwise, it becomes overwhelming. You can just leave it on automatic as well. Like you can automate different things. Lewis is saying, hi Daz, any news about Milestone 5 of Xenonauts 2 release on the main branch? When is that? I know that they sort of have almost sort of said that it's actually now feature complete for Xenonauts. Let's have a quick look. I did mean to look at this actually, but I haven't. What? 69%, 80%, that's where it should be. I don't know why there's mixed reviews lately. It's still early access, okay, so it's not actually not finished. That's the monthly development update. Milestone 5 progress, yeah. So I tend to skip over these when they're just talking about is getting Milestone 5 ready for public release. Until Milestone 5 comes out, I probably won't cover this in any great depth. But at least they're informing us what's going on. And so, yeah, next few weeks, that's everything. Thanks for reading. Hopefully we'll have a big announcement in the next few weeks about the public release of Milestone 5. So there's the experimental milestone in through there, but I'll wait until the actual public release of Milestone 5 before I sort of really comment. Although I am playing with the experimental, which is good fun. God, it's good. It's such a great game, Xenonauts 2. So much better than the original. Like, it really is amazingly good. Just well as Wednesdays with Wackarus. There we are, says Dom UK. And they're saying Distant Worlds Wednesday is more illustrative. Actually, I can do that. In fact, that's a good thing to do. I think I might do that. Like today, I don't go to the beach, so I can actually sort of go a bit further over time. And also in 2 days' time, which is my Thursday, but it is Wednesday for everyone else, that's also a day that I don't go to the beach. So I've actually got extended time to then go and play different things or do different things. I tend to sort of do other things in that time frame. Distant Worlds Wednesdays could actually be a feature. And I think here on YouTube would actually be a good place to do that. I need to get more YouTube content, in here, and I tend to. I don't put up as much content as I really should. So I tend to be streaming a lot on Twitch, and I like to do that because it's much easier for me to interact with the Twitch tools than the YouTube tools. The YouTube is terrible in that regard. They've become so backward in the way that they sort of approach live streaming. It's quite interesting. So Korosami, so I play with a mixture of manual and auto fleets. Yeah, I do the same thing. Maybe let's play a new game Thursday. Yeah. Well, new games again. I do play a lot of new games, but a lot of them I don't really warm to be honest, and so I tend not to show them. There is actually another game coming up I'm not allowed to talk about, which is actually can I? Yeah, I will talk about it. I'm under an NDA with one game. I can't show it, but I can talk about it. So I might show that as well. Actually, I'll do that now, and then we'll come back to because Michael's left a nice smiley face, so I know exactly where I am in the chat at this stage. If we go across, and I'll just go through the public announcement, but Cataclysmo has. This is an incredible game. There's another Hooded Horse game. Now, I am under a bit of an NDA, or at least an embargo, where I'm not allowed to talk about it until I can show it on the 15th, which is 4 days' time. I am recording content for this because I'm enjoying it so much. This is the trailer for their release date. So they're releasing in 2 weeks' time. So I'll be able to start showing it in 1 week's time. I'm not allowed to do any sort of review content, and I can't even say with reviews whether I like the changes or anything like that. So I'll just present. Let me say I've always enjoyed the approach of this game, And even though I'm not allowed to say whether I like it or put any sort of review type thing out there, let me say I've always enjoyed the theme of this game, and I thought they've done it incredibly well. This is such a great. It's like, and it's sort of funny because I was trying to think of, okay, what sort of game is it? Like, is it a tower defense? It is to a degree, but it's a tower defense with moving parts. You've got like different units you can move around the battlefield. Is it a city builder? Yes, it is to a large degree as well. But there's the theme of it, the way it all comes together is beautifully done, and it has been all the way through. So even before I started to, I've always said that about this game. So I'm not going to talk about the new stuff coming. So it says, design and build fortresses brick by brick to stand against endless hordes of horrors in this real-time strategy game with resource management, siege defence and exploration. It is a siege defence game, basically. Lead from the ramparts, push back the darkness and hold fast against the creatures of the mist. And very positive, what's it rating? 100%, in recent times 91%. That is worthy. It's praiseworthy, and you can see there with the actual reviews, people love it when they play it, and it's so much better than you expect when you say a tower defense game or a siege defense game. You immediately start thinking in terms of siege defense. You're thinking of Stronghold. I would imagine games like that. This is so much better than any of the Stronghold games ever were. It's got the same sort of feel about it to a large degree, but it's actually the way that they've done it. It's a game that you can play on pause for an awfully long time, do all of your building on pause, and then you end up with a combat system. The game mechanics in it have always been great. I'm saying have always because I don't want to say the new stuff is awesome, because I'm not allowed to say that. But I can say that the actual original game before this release version, and I do have the release version of the game, was incredible. Like it's just, and you can see there with the reviews, the recent reviews, it is an amazing game. So. So we've got the you can by the way, I wouldn't recommend this this vision here about watch the devs play the first look at the depths. There's no talking in it. They don't explain anything at all. So I was sort of looking forward to seeing that one. They've got the release trailer in through there, so they're announced the release date, which will be March the 20th. For me, that's the 21st. I'm not allowed to do review stuff. I'm not allowed to say whether I like it or not until that time. We'll probably talk about this a bit next week, actually, because I will be able to then show it at least, show what it actually has. But this is actually where you've got these horrors then come and they try to destroy your castle, which again, normally I don't like these sort of games, but when they first brought this one out, I just fell in love with it, just the way it sort of works. Like you've got to build and construct everything and then sort of work against the horrors. It's really cool. Like, so it's so it's essentially and you've got so much creativity. It's a bit like Minecraft in that sense, where you can really build up a very effective a castle system. So I'm doing sort of like a tutorial / gameplay of the actual game itself. There's lots of different ways of playing the game as well. Stand against the hordes. It's very cool. Very cool. Many ways to play, and it's true as well. So they've sort of got like there are a lot of different ways to play the game, which is awesome. It's very creative with what it does do, but I won't talk about it in much detail other than the fact that it is on its way, and so keep an eye open for that one. This is actually this is a game that is so much better than the description that it provides. It would be easy to bounce off this game based on what you read about it, but it really is amazing in terms of what it does do. And I'm talking about not the coming content. I'm talking about, just so that I don't go over my embargo commitment. I'm talking about when I first picked up the game, I was blown away by it in early access, and it's an incredibly enjoyable game to play. So. Okay, going back to Distant Worlds 2 Wiggly, saying people need long-range scanners and most of their problems with fleets doing nothing will be fixed. Exactly. Yeah, long-range scanners are really, you've got to try to get them as early as you can. Myself and I are saying per system defense patrol groups go a long way keeping your systems clean. That's true, yep. So the managing your fleets really is the key to and if I do like a Distant Worlds Wednesday or something like that, I'll and I won't commit to it, but I'm interested in doing something like that. I will then be going through every single time how to look after your fleets, because I do it every time I play the game. So Drexy's in saying, love the automation. Only control 2/3 of the fleet's maximum in distant worlds too. Everything else is automated. Yeah. Korosami is saying, settling the engagement distance for a fleet is a great way to protect multiple systems and requires no micromanagement. That's true. Team Games retracted their message. I'm not sure, that may be Nightbot or something that has sort of gone into that one. I don't have any giveaways today, so I won't be doing a marble run today. I'm sort of running out of time as well. We'll also have to use more automation then. Good, got to check that one out. So have my chats been coming through, says Team Games? Not, that one hasn't. And I haven't seen any. That's the first one I saw, Team Games. Sorry, you may have used. You got asked me about the game Antimatter. I don't know that one. Sorry. So the message retracted, which looks like a Nightbot has like one of the automatic mods has got in there and stopped it. I don't know why. Tenor saying, I see a question. Did I miss one? Just scrolling through to see if I can see it there. No, it's just got message retracted from Team Games there. So, what are you saying? How did you make the mod for Shadow Empire? Did you have to code? Do you have a tutorial about it? It was very I had to pull apart the the way the game works, and so then I had to analyse how the game uses graphics, and so it was interesting because the way that the game actually uses them it's unfortunately Vic's not a graphic designer type like in really what he does, so there was stuff that didn't quite work itself out all that well, so I had to go through every single element and actually figure out how it was actually all put together, and then I had to build a system to automatically build the all the different icons. So I built the icons, but I've actually got like an Adobe Illustrator file that automates the whole thing. Believe it or not, that was for me the easiest way to actually end up doing it. And so I've got like a way of coding it all in Illustrator, and so it's all been done where it loads in the game graphics into Illustrator are then loaded in and I have to have multiple files because they're too big for one file. And then everything is then sort of done through that one, and then when it outputs it, it's automated. So I've got instructions for myself on how to do it, but that way, and that's the same way that I did when Distant Worlds 1. I did like a whole series of mods on changing the user interface for Distant Worlds 1, and that was the same deal. I did it all in Illustrator, and then just basically had Illustrator set up to split all the files up and actually output them all so that they would then become the interface, which made it very, very quick and easy for me to update and to output the full kit essentially. So same with Shadow Empire was the same process. It's just that these files were much, much larger, and so it's sort of one of those things where when it does do it, it does take a little bit of time just for the automation for that to then sort of work. So there's no actual code to doing it, but there is an automation system within Adobe Illustrator that allows me to, because I set up Illustrator the way that I did, I can then sort of output it that way. So again, I'm using my graphic design knowledge to sort of do pretty high level automation, to be honest, in terms of being able to output what needs to be output. So much easier than using any other graphic program. And I know that like Mark Royer, who does his mod, is another one with the terrain that people really do like, and I do have a mod for that one as well, which just adds it to his graphics. He had to essentially manually go in with each graphic. So what he did was much more labor intensive than what I did. For me, it was so much what I did in that mod was automated, if that makes any sort of sense. Kurosami is saying to Tenru, try making 3 to 4 small fleets spread out amongst your empire, then use engagement distance to cover all your systems. Yeah, look, you guys are asking about that one. I might show that exactly. I'll show exactly that process. So we'll do that now, right now. We'll do a Distant Worlds very short sort of tutorial on managing your fleets. I'll just go to. I'm probably not going to continue the game that I'm currently playing because I've sort of with Distant Worlds. I think it's time for a restart. I know I'm going to be playing it a few times actually in the coming weeks in the lead up to this release. So I'll be playing this on Slytherin, but I'll also look to do some content here on my own channel. I will also be, as I said before, doing some content for Gal Civ. Definitely want to be looking at the changes there. I love Gal Civ. I think it's from a board game sort of style game. That is, I just absolutely love it. Yeah, somebody's saying Distant Worlds dance tutorial. Let's go. So, no point doing this in a new game. I'll just open up one of the existing games and sort of show you the way I've got it structured. And I think the game I've got is where we've actually dominated attacks that have been coming in based on our fleet system. So, and I think that the one I've got, we're not at war at this point in time. So I think that's why I'm thinking, okay, I can just let the fleet go. If I continue the game, this is going to be the Xenox Ascendancy. So I'm playing with the new Xenox systems, which are they look great, by the way. The new Xenox ships. I didn't like the Xenox ships when they released, but I really like the Xenox. Really like the Xenox now. So as Chris is saying, have you ever set up Rule in Absence in Distant Worlds 2 and seen it to its conclusion? Yeah, the Rule in Absence is a really interesting system in Distant Worlds where you just let the simulation just run, and I've never let it go to a conclusion. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in actually recording that, to be honest. It's sort of one of those things where I think it would be fascinating. What I have done is let it run for like 20 or 30 or 40 years and then started playing, and that's really interesting. Just to sort of then start to play with whatever the scenario is that you've inherited from the AI. That's actually a really fun way to play the game, where just everything is, where the AI just does everything without you having any impact at all. You can let the game run overnight, where it will just churn away its turns, and then you can come in and stop it, and then start to play. And so yeah, it's a good way to do it. Yeah, Dominic can say I'm not allowed to say I like it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much. But I loved Cataclysmo as soon as I opened, and it was a game I wasn't even wanting to play, to be honest. When I first looked at Cataclysmo, probably it must be about a year ago now. I was not interested in it at all. But I tend to like Hooded Horse games, and so I thought, yeah, look, I'll give it a go. I'll have a bit of a look at it, and I just loved it. I loved the experience. Right, so this is actually a fairly advanced system that we've got going through here. I'll just roll those back up. So this is a situation where we've got like an ally in here. We've got so we're seeing a lot of the actual a lot of the galaxy has now been explored, and it's not a massively large galaxy. The main one we've been at war with has been this group into here, these Harkonish, which have been but they haven't been able to be all that effective. So what we need to do is we need to cover our systems, so our core systems in here. One thing I try not to do is to spread out too far initially until I can really, really look after it. So one thing I wouldn't do, for example, I do actually have a planet out through this side, Leonardo. We took that one because it was a special planet, but we now have to defend it, and so this becomes a point of weakness. Now the actual, with all the wars that were going on, the Harkonish Empire, just as a bit of a summary, ended up having a civil war and split apart, and this is actually now a new empire with only 55 million people on its home world. That is an old Harkonish world, but it's now a new empire, and the Harkonish hate them, and so they will try to take them back and bring them back inside the fold of their empire. So we've got a little bit of time, but in this case, Leonardo is a Harkonish world as well, and so we ended up in this case we ended up sort of taking this world because it's a special world. I won't go through why and all that. The important thing is when we have a look at this, we're seeing different fleets in around through here. Now the little symbols that we see, if you see a symbol like, for example, that little lightning bolt in through there, this is like a raiding fleet. The three dots is like an invasion fleet with troops, or can have troops. We'll see fleets like this, which have got like an upside down shield. That's a defense fleet, and if it's got cross swords, and I can't really sort of see it there, this attack fleet in through there, I'm not seeing the actual. Unfortunately, it's first attack force. That may have even been set up as a defence fleet. But what you can do is there's two aspects to fleets. There's the fleet composition and the fleet instructions as to what they then go and do. If I go and click on, for example, this fleet through here, this is actually a fleet that is actually its home world is this system around Rimworld. So you can see there the Rimworld is actually where it's actually located. This is its area it's going to work with. It's purple, it's a raiding fleet, which means it will look for relevant targets anywhere in here to raid. But it's got specific instructions on what to look for and how to do it. So every single one of my fleets, if I go to the first fleet, which is my attack fleet, their actual, you can see there, their actual automatic job is to defend targets within 100 m range of Herodotus 2 mining station. So I've given them a home world of Herodotus 2, and so they look for anything to defend inside that region. So they'll defend, of course, the actual base that's there, but they'll also defend any other bases when we start to see other ships or other fleets coming in. So their job at this stage is to defend. I can change that to whatever I want, and I'll show you how to do that as well. But classifying the different fleets has a big bearing on what does go on. I'll show you this again in more detail. The second fleet is just a essentially is just the start of this is a defence fleet. This is a fairly sort of small fleet. This one is just defending targets within 50 m. So again, it's purely on automation. It's coming into repair, so it's just finished off. It would have had it on manual. It's come into after doing some attacks, so it's coming in just to repair at Rimworld 1. The third fleet, and through here again, this is a much bigger fleet. You can see through this other side. So even my attack fleet, my actual attack fleet in here, which is my largest fleet, is still set to defend. It's still working as a defence fleet. You can change the style of fleet. So third is another biggish fleet, and through this other side, which is set to defend Moonshays, which was sort of like this was where the likely attacks were likely to come in from these two areas. So they defend anything inside that side. So you can see there the range is bigger for this one, it's smaller for this one. The second fleet, it's smaller there, but the combination of those two circles gives me a pretty good defence against anything that's coming through. And they're not set up at Rimworld, they're set up over through here at Duragate, which is another just a base. So I've set these up to sort of be able to intercept. The fourth fleet back through there is another largish fleet which we're currently building. These just protect our home systems. The fifth fleet is the invasion fleet. These have been set to only invade nearby targets, which means I don't have them automatically going off and doing anything. So again, I've told them not to go too far. The sixth fleet is my raiding fleet back in through there from Rimworld, so they do all of this stuff. The seventh fleet is a raiding fleet from Leonardo, so they're now moving into to do any raids in through here. Now, what may be is if we can sort of get good control of this system, we may then sort of extend out what it can then go and do and extend it out even further. I think that's all I've got. Yeah, that's the only one I actually have. So I've got so they're the 7 fleets I've got. So I don't have a hell of a lot at this point in time, but that's all I need. I need enough for defending. I don't have a defence fleet for this one, which I'm going to have to go and build when I can afford it, and I can't afford it just yet. But the key to all of this comes from in your military tab. So this is the automation part of it. When you go to the military tab, fleet templates and fleet creation, this is actually the key to it all. You click on that one through there, and you've then got different types of fleets. Now they have the role, we saw in that one, we've actually got one of each of or at least one of each of these. We've got actually you didn't see the role. Let me just go back and change the role of the first fleet. So if I go to the first fleet, its current role is to defend. I'll make that attack. And so it's now turned to red. It's now going to be looking for attack targets, war targets in this region. So it's now going to be more aggressive because of this. So if I go with that one, so that's actually what an attack fleet looks like. I can turn on all the fleets. So if we wanted to sort of see what everything looks like, I can go to, where is it? This is the fleet engagement. So this is, if I go, I've got selected fleets on at this stage. If I go to all fleets, I now can see the overlay of all of my fleets as to what they're going to do automatically. So this is just set up with the automation. So with the different colour schemes, we can sort of see we've got defence fleets in through there, we've got raiding fleets there, we've got an attack fleet now over through here, raiding fleet in through here as well. I could change the 7th fleet, which is moving out to this one, into I can just tell it to go and change from being a raid, its role to go to defend. The composition doesn't change, its role does. It's going to now defend the targets here. It's going to look for attacks and defend. If it's going to raid, when there's a war target, it will go off and try to destroy different bases and stuff like that. So the actual role that you designate is very, very important. But you set up a lot of these sorts of things in this tab here. And so, and you can see there the 4 different roles that are in there. You can actually create different templates as well. They can have fleets that perform different things for you. Now, if I go in, for example, to my defence fleet, I always start off with defence fleets. I've got 12 ships by default for a defence fleet. And so it's the, and this is actually the, this is not its role, this is its class. So its actual classification as a defence fleet has got 12 ships. If I go and edit this, I can then change how the default for when we create a new one of these is then set up. So for one of these, I've got 2 destroyers, 4 escorts, and 6 frigates, and I can then set up what type of ships are then coming in from the actual class that's sort of designated. So for example, for my escorts, latest design for the hull, the patrol escort, I can tell it what type of escort to use or a particular type of ship to use as well. So I can actually sort of be very, very specific about the composition of the fleet. So I can sort of do things in through there. Now the default system is the fleet engagement range is set by default to just be the same system that it's in, because initially I don't want it to be going out away from the planets because we don't have long range scanners initially, and so I can't do interceptions very well. So same system is what I've got set to by default. I now have long range scanners at this point in time in the game. I could change the default for new ones of these to say, for example, 50M. So that would then mean that if I create a new fleet, a new defence fleet, it will now extend out to 50M for what it does do. And also the fleet retreat strategy, so if the enemy strength is 100% greater than our strength, is when we retreat away from defending whatever it is that we're trying to defend. So it would then sort of, that sort of helps protect it. If I go to, if I just go and close that one through there, the attack fleets, just go to edit. Again, for an attack fleet, it'll only retreat if the enemy strength is 50% or greater. So it won't go after things that are going to kill it, whereas defence fleets will stick around a little bit longer. And then raiding fleets as well will have their own style. So raiding fleets, and again, you can see the composition is different for each one of these ones. If I go and edit this. And so this, if the enemy strength is at all greater, so if they're considered, if the target that they're going after is going to give them a hard fight, it won't go in and do it. This is hit and run tactics. And so in this case, the default is 50% of the fuel range, which is quite long range. You may decide, okay, look, I want them to have 100M. Now, be aware that this does not change what's happening with my existing fleets. So if I go, and it's only if I go to create I can, for example, build a new raiding force and then I have anything with the resources will then show up in here. So, so I can go to a spaceport and build another fleet just using this template. Now, it doesn't have to, the way that you think about building the fleets is, it's the ship elements that you've actually put in there. Like if we go back and edit the raiding force, it's what we've got here is what we're building. We don't have to keep it a raiding fleet. So we can actually build this grouping of 4 frigates, 3 escorts, and then designate it as an attack fleet if we wanted to. So we can do whatever we like. But you typically will sort of look after these, and if there's like if we need something different, we just add a new one. But we have to give it one of those 4 roles. The 4 roles don't change, the composition of the fleets do. And also the different things we can set up and through here do change as well. But that's only for new fleets. When we go back to an existing fleet, so that's actually, this is by far the easiest way to set up and manage your fleets. When we've designated it as like a raiding force, like for example, if I go back in to my 7th fleet, which has now been set to defend, but we know that its actual composition is got the 4 frigates as well as 3 escorts. So we've got essentially the basic composition of one of these fleets. So there's two aspects to this one. We've got the fleet role, which is now set to defend, but the fleet composition, the template we're using is a raiding force of 7 ships. If you can see there, it's got top-up ships with fleet. There's no missing ship roles at this point in time. If I go to as the fleet template raiding force, I can then change it to one of the other types. If I go and say make it a defense fleet, I'll now have the option to top it up with new ships. So I can actually change the role of the class to then sort of correspond with that one. I won't do that one though. I'll leave it back on a raiding force, which means that there's no missing ships. By having these set up this way, it means all you're doing is you're either topping it up with ships that are missing, or you're just setting up the automation. Now, to override the automation for this is this one here. So with the fleet selected, this is essentially what we saw with the default. Now, the default is for when it's first constructed. After that, you then can come through and change. Like, let's just say that we want to, if we want to defend to only the same system for Leonardo, we just go to same system, and now we see a much, much smaller circle just around the actual system itself. It could even be that we just go to same location, which means just that one planet. We probably won't even see the circle there, but that's now, yeah, we can just. You can just see this as a circle around the one planet, which means it's only going to defend that planet. And that may be the way that you start the game off, to be honest, by just having that. So you can override what happens with the fleets by doing this, which means that the automation that you then end up having is incredible, really. Like, it's so you don't have to do much here at all. Like, if I change that one back to raid, it will then set to raid, and the color coding will then show me what's going on. So it's a great system, and but just by using the template through here, and then manipulating, like if I go to the first fleet, for example, which has now been set up for an attack role. If I go across back into defend, which is sort of like I find that to be my default. Defend just means we're not going to go off and do things. We're going to be trying to look after any like pirate attack or anything that's going to be going on. It will then move out and do things there. But this really is such this revolutionises the way of playing the game, because if you're not doing it this way, because it really does set things up where you don't have to think about it. It makes it so much easier. So I won't go through any more detail, but that's in terms of fleets. That's how it works. Individual ships can then also be then designated as to what they will then do when they need to retrofit, or if there's been an improvement, how things sort of work. I do tend to go into fairly deep dives with this whenever I do a live stream on Distant Worlds, but that's in a nutshell. By using fleets this way, it certainly is a cool thing to do. I'll just go back to selected fleet again, just so we're looking at the one fleet at a time. But you can actually you can see there the coverage that you've got. It makes it so manageable, so manageable. Okay, so where did we get up to? Drexy's saying I let Distant Worlds 1 run for a few days before, so got something saying add this to your DAS Distant Worlds 2 tutorial playlist and call it Fleet Management. Easy money. We've covered a lot of these Slytherin games today. Somebody's saying, readers then saying, if not tutorial, could you stream the modding session when you do it next time? Seems so interesting. I think it's very, very nuanced, to be honest. I don't know if I did a video on it. I don't think it's of much interest to most people, to be perfectly honest. It's sort of so it's not really worth doing. It's way too specific to my skill set. Like it's not programming. It's even different to what most other graphic designers do. So it's sort of like it's one of those things that I think I may have done it again I think I've shown a little bit in things, but I don't think it was very popular. So it's just not really worth sort of showing as a system. But it's but certainly it means I can mod, like if there's a change of graphics in Shadow Empire, I can change my mod within maybe 20 minutes to change all the graphics. So 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, just to double check things. But it's actually, the way I've got it set up at the moment, it's very, very fast for me to process a completely new mod. And that was the same with Distant Worlds 1 as well. Like I sort of had the same sort of thing set up that way to do it very, very quickly. But again, that's because of my graphics skill set, not because of any sort of coding things that I know. So the fleet stance overlay, so you can see all the fleets at once too. Yep, so we showed that one. Put a mesh of automated defence fleets, which you saw there when I had that one turned on. Again, we've got the, if we just go back to all fleets. In fact, you can actually then just do it purely by defence fleets to sort of see what you're going to be defending. So you can see our core worlds are very, very well defended by this sort of structure. I'll just go select the fleets again. But it's once you get used to the little nuances in this game, like that, rather than manually putting together fleets and trying to get them to manually do different things, just automate them, and then I manually control fleets that I want to do very specific things. By far, the majority of them are set to automation, and you saw there when we came into this one, all of my fleets that I had were set to automated. Not one single one of them was set to be manually controlled. But usually in a war, I will then have one fleet that I'm looking to push a certain objective and trying to sort of go and do something with. And so that's something that we would be then looking to do. Like I probably use my first fleet, which is my large fleet, to then become a manually controlled fleet to then go off and do different things. Okay, so we get up to, so Thor is then saying, hi guys, the new upcoming patch for Distant Worlds 2 does it include a better ship design UI? I find it very hard to figure out how ships are upgraded, what components are new, almost kills the long term. Actually, while we've got it open, I'll show you, again, this should be the default setup in the game. If you are going to go into the ship designer, which is in the ship construction, ship designs, just be aware, if you don't set things to manual, the AI will then automatically update them for you, and which is not what you want. So if you do any sort of upgrade, it will automatically change it to manual control. If you just do an edit on an existing design, you can only do edits if there's no ships available. So this Cartagena Escort, for example, has got nothing. It's still set to manual, even though I'm not really using it. But this is sort of what you end up having. So only put to manual what you want to control. Don't have everything else on the hull upgrade set to automatic. The thing I like to do here is I have the active buildable designs. If it gets overwhelming, just go to say state ships or state bases. Just filter it that way. So this is these are two filters, and then I'll just go back to all types. But if I click on role so that it sorts by the role, that way all my escorts are together, the frigates together, the destroyer. So if you got multiple roles, it will at least then put them all, so you can pick them all together. In terms of managing the actual ship design itself, if I go in, for example, into the destroyer, I do have 8 of those. If I go to upgrade, it will then come in with any other changes. Now, the way I tend to look at this is the first thing I tend to have a look at, because you tend to have an idea as to what's going to change. So if I go to edit, in fact, what I can do is we'll do it with the escort, because I haven't actually updated this one. So if I go into this one is old. And you can see there, this one is 25 years old here. At the, whatever we're in 2781, and this is 2754. So this is a really, really old design. So I've got heaps more tech than what was actually in here. But if I was unsure, the first thing I would have a look at, excuse me, is an edit, and just have a quick look at the what we're looking at through here, and I'll have a bit of an idea as to what might be on, like, coming into this particular area. And to be honest, not much of this is going to change, even though it's very, very old. There's going to be a different hyperdrive system that will come in, I'm sure, but not much else, to be honest. So like that's sort of something we'll have a look at. I tend to look at that. I tend to look at how much space we've got left over as well, just to get a bit of an idea. If I'm just going to quickly have a look, but just to have a bit of a look at this one, have a think about what you may get. If you're wanting to see what's likely to change, the thing I think by default, it shouldn't be all components and then bay type and name. This is what this is this is a filter for the first one, and this is a sort. So you've got filtering. You don't want everything that's ever been thought of. You don't need old, like I don't need basic fuel cells when I've got fuel cells. Like, in fact, I've gone 3 levels of fuel cells. So I only need whatever the most recent one is. So I don't need all components. What I need is, and if I go to latest per category, this, you may miss some of the important weaponry, because some weaponry actually has got its own family of that it's in as well. So the best one to use here for sorting, for filtering, is latest per category and family, that one there. And so once you've got that one selected, we no longer have the basic fuel cells, because this fuel cell is the latest one for that one. For weaponry, like one of the important ones, for example, often your Sentinel multi-beam defense, this is an old design, but it actually is relevant for a long portion of the game. And so by keeping the family in through there, you can sort of see it's an intercept weapon is the category that it's in. So but the family is it's a beam intercept weapon. So it's very, very specific. So if we have other intercept weapons, if I go back, I don't know if this one will actually be overridden, to be honest. I haven't done much in that. If I just go to latest per category, yeah, see how it's now missing? It's missing, and we've got a much shorter list. Oh, no, there it is. It's down the bottom there. There were some other ones that did actually go off. If I go latest per category and family, we had a few other little things that were coming in through at the bottom there. It's better off to keep the family there as well. So you've got like a big selection. So that's actually, that for me is the best way to filter the game, and then to sort it, rather than actually having, particularly with your weaponry, it's mainly your weaponry that you're going to have this sort of problem. But see how we've got like win in through there, we've got win down this way. These are the, this is the, essentially the classification of what type of weapon it actually is. These are interceptors. It's intercept weapon, and this one as well, the buckler repeating, is an intercept weapon back up there, but that's a blaster, not a beam. We've got, there'll be other, this is a missile, this is a missile intercept weapon. So these are all part of the same grouping, so you're better off keeping them together rather than separate. And so just by changing that one there to bay type, category, family, and then size, so that one there, that for me should be the default for the game. I wish that they would change these things, or at least allow the player to actually do this, because that then sets all of my intercept weapons are all together. There's only 4 of them in this latest classification. If I go back to having all, like what it had through there before, and still have this sorting, I'm going to get old weaponry coming in through here as well. But this one just means that I can sort of see what's going to be coming through. Now, with this particular design, if I have a bit of a look, you can see that it's got Megatron Z4 shields. It's the same thing in through here. These will be the version 2s automatically. When you see a V2 or V3 or whatever it might be, it just means it's the same one. The one thing we're going to sort of see that's going to be different, the medium star beam is still going to be relevant, so that's actually still in there as well. Back into the internals, the white stuff is in here as the internals, and having a bit of a look to see if there's anything through there. We just got normal fuel cells there. We don't have the basic. The warp bubble generator is gone, and we've now got the Jerax hyperdrive. So that is now the replacement. That'll be the only thing that will change in this design pretty much. And so, so if I just go and if I have a look at the warp bubble generator, that's size 15. The Jerax hyperdrive is size 18. So we're going to see this thing improve and go to 361. If I just cancel that one now and go back in and go to upgrade, it will then automatically upgrade what it thinks it needs to do. So it's now gone to the Jerax hyperdrive. There's our 361 with the 3 extras. All the other stuff stayed the same. I think the proton engines were what it had there before. This hasn't changed. Actually, heavy armor did come in. We didn't have that before, but it's the same size as the old armor. So we did actually have an improvement there. But there's not a lot changes. So it's by doing this, you then at least see what the most recent stuff is. So it makes it very, very manageable. And then when it does come in, yeah, we haven't really changed much, to be honest, with the actual overall, with the overall class of what it does do. And so that will now be the new design. If I save and exit, that will become what the new one is, and it will then have, I'll just do it so you can see it there, but the actual date is now 2781 is when it was designed. And there we go. So when there's an upgrade, just be aware that you may need to come in every so often and just do an upgrade of your hulls, and the ones that are set to manual. But if you leave it on automatic, the AI will do a good job of managing that for you. And I didn't change that one really since the start of the game. So the AI had already set up a pretty good design. So that's sort of where we are there. But anyway, that's how I do the ship designs. And so when it comes time for me to do and you don't have to do this, by the way. The AI does a good job of designing ships, so you don't feel that you need to micromanage it to this degree. I enjoy this part of it, but you don't need to. The AI will do a good job. And at that point, all you're doing is just letting the AI manually, sort of automatically control what happens with the ships, and you just basically put your fleets together and away you go. It's actually it's pretty cool the way it does actually work. Anyway, let's get out of this one. So I'll just exit to desktop. There we are. How do you create a fleet template for a Planet Destroyer, including supporting ships? Well, I don't have Planet Destroyer. I never play that far into the game. Kurosami is saying, I use an upgrade button to automatically put all the components on a ship design and then change weapons. Defense is how I want it for the role it plays. And again, the game does now a good job of actually trying to keep, if you've got a theme, there is actually an even more deep way of actually getting the AI to honour what the direction you're taking with ships. So there's certain ways that the AI, even if you have it on automatic, you can actually then change it. I won't go into that in detail in here now, but you've really got a lot of depth you can do with it. You also thought that by the latest in category, which was what we went through. Anyway, I've skipped past a lot of this stuff. So there's Zerin saying, finally managed to get to see Daz. So do you think they will ever let us change the look of ships too? Well, you can mod that, but it's just the barrier to entry with modding Distant Worlds 2 is really, really high. Like it's very complex. I was going to do a tutorial on how to mod ships in Distant Worlds 2, but to be honest, it was so mind-blowingly difficult. I didn't do it, and there is actually mods out. There is information from the devs about how to do it, but I just couldn't do it, to be honest. It was not easily, and so it's not like a lot of other games where you just. This is where again they're using an engine which is not all that popular. And it's still like it works for the game, but it doesn't work for modders to a degree, I don't think. So that's probably why we're not seeing Star Trek mods and things like this. It's so hard to do it in the game. There's a way to do it, but it's not something you can do in 10 minutes. And like even if you had a model of an Enterprise type ship, to bring that into the game, it requires a lot of work, like a hell of a lot of work to make it work inside the engine. So it's the barrier there is actually really, really quite difficult. But yes, you can still mod even using their existing ships. And you can do certain things, but again, it's you've got to be able to. First of all, you've got to understand how 3D works with the different mapping on 3D, and I do that as part of my job. So I'm sort of used to building things in 3D, but trying to get it to work inside the actual engine I found it just like this is beyond me. It's just too hard. So I stopped sort of trying to show that. I should actually look at that again at some point and try to make it so that I can at least put some content out there for people who want to do it, because if you can do 3D modeling, that's the hardest part of that. And you can actually just grab 3D models and then just and sort of structure them, but all of the weapon points need to be modded as well. Like they all need to be part of how things are built in the actual engine. It's quite complex. So Kurosami is saying, wish that those sort categories were default, or at least I wish it would remember, but it just doesn't remember. There's only a few circumstances where you'll equip older components, and it's usually down to space requirements. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You very, very, very rarely ever do that. If the tier level of individual was shown, it would be much easier for people. Yeah, I agree with you 100% there as well. 100%. This is something, again, that was asked for right from the very, very start. It should say what level of tech it is. For every single tech, every single component should actually have what level it actually is. I agree with you 100% on that one. I haven't actually asked for that for such a long time, for years actually. I should actually try to remember to pass that one on as well, because I think that makes a big difference in actually thinking, okay, look, that's tech level, that's tech tier 1 component, whereas I'm up to tech tier 3 on certain things as well. That would actually be very, very handy. So I'm saying, well, the thing I found annoying is when you have a cheap version of a ship. Cheap version, yeah, I don't know why that would be annoying. Cheap components versus upgrades of essential components is hard to manage, but doable. Yeah, I haven't really had that problem, I don't think. Kurosami is saying to Thor, the issue is that it's really hard. It's hardly ever just a straight increase in effectiveness. You might have 3 different types of engines, all equally advanced, but with different specs. Yeah, but that's still, at least you know. Like the Acceleros engine, for example, is an engine I always like to get because it's fast. Some of them are more efficient, for example. So you've got different ways of doing things, but you get used to that in the game. Again, if you're just letting the AI do it, you don't even have to think about it. You just play with the ships. So Kurosami, some with better distance, some with some but less but faster. Full of fuel efficient, etc., etc. Yeah, generic tech level indication would be welcome, says Kurosami. Yeah, I think that's something I will try to remember to pass that one back along. I like to get feedback when I'm doing live streams because I think it's valuable for the devs to know what the barriers are for people to actually to understand the game, to be able to sort of play it. Yep, so Dom UK saying they could have a coloured percent bar behind the name. The more full the bar is, the more advanced it is in the tech. I don't know, because the text can go way, way long, and the ultimate tech tree can be really, really long in the game. So, not sure. I think it just saying what tech tier it actually is from, even just really, really small, would actually be even just a little button in the corner with like a Roman numeral, just so you knew what, like that would be enough for me. Just Roman numerals, or even just numbers would be fine. Yep, so your tech level should be easy to append to the component name. Actually, that would be a good mod, actually. Or not real. You've got the version 2s of things as well. So that's actually a little bit different. So Chris needs to dash, so thanks, Chris. I've actually got to sort of wind up now anyway as well. So I will actually call it to a close here. I was going to show, I've got a few games. I've got Fernageddon, which is everyone's been talking about the last few weeks. I did mean to show that one. I've got Shadow Veil as well, which I'm not that impressed with, but I sort of am interested in. And also Suikoden 1 and 2 HD, which is actually a game from the 1990s, which has been remastered, but it is actually still, I think, the base game from the 1990s. So I opened it up to have a bit of a look at it because it's rating really, really highly. People who play the game love it, but I'm sort of thinking, oh, this is awkward. Like it was, I haven't really played much of it, to be honest. So I will try to cover those games in the coming weeks. Cataclysmo, will probably be able to show some of that next week. What else have we got that would be interesting to have a look at? Field of Glory Kingdoms, I've been playing a fair bit of that lately. Again, loving this game. And there's more content coming fairly soon. That's, I think, let's have a quick look and see if that's actually listed. Field of Glory Kingdoms. Do they have the information? Announcements, Rajas. Now they've got the. This is the Rajas and Tribes. This will be, you'll be able to play as what is it? Prussia, I think, fairly soon, with this particular DLC that's coming. This is the first DLC for the game itself. Now, do they have the date? I know the dates, but I may not be allowed to talk about the dates. No, it's coming soon. Okay, so no, I won't talk. I'm not allowed to talk about it. So that is coming soon, but that's I know when that is coming. Let me say I'll be talking about this one in the coming weeks anyway. So it's soon. It's very, very soon. It's imminent. So it's just around the corner. But I won't sort of talk about. It's not like it's a year away or anything like that. It's actually very, very close. So, and this was just released a couple of days ago on Friday. So, yeah, so there's some interesting things coming with this one as well. So I'm looking forward to that DLC. What else is there to talk about? Broken Arrow. People always ask about Broken Arrow. Not so much you guys, but whenever I do anything on Slytherin. Broken Arrow has a date now as well. So we now actually have a June date for Broken Arrow, so June 2025, which will be fun. This will be an interesting game to play. what else is there to talk? Well, we're definitely going to be looking at Gale Civ over the coming days, actually. Probably more than anything else. Gale Civ 4. So it's... and again, if we look at the stats here, like there's mostly positive, 73%, which is about the same as what we see for Distant Worlds, but then it's 82% in recent times. So this game just gets better and better and better. The difference between this game and Distant Worlds, if you know the reason this one does better now than what it did at the start, and better. Well, actually, the reason it was actually pretty poor at the start is the Epic Games effect, which essentially is that if a game releases a year out before it comes to Steam on Epic, people tend to mark it down. Now, there's been a couple of games that have done okay, like Old World is a game that actually did launch well into Steam after a year on Epic. Gale Civ was a year on Epic, or over a year on Epic before it then came. And it's been an uphill battle, I think, to sort of then get it to the heights that it should be. And I think 85%, again, I think that's a good rating. So the recent reviews are highish for Gale Civ, but the difference between the development of Distant Worlds and Galactic Civilizations is that Stardock put a lot of effort into the user experience, and so they try to make things comfortable and easy-ish to sort of embrace with the way they play. Like I often get asked, you know, what would be the better game to play? Like if you're new to Space 4X's, would you pick up Gale Civ or Distant Worlds? Without unequivocally, I sort of say Gale Civ is the easier one to pick up, simply because the developer focuses very heavily on the user experience, and so they polish it all the time. Whereas Distant Worlds is an absolute work of art, but it doesn't focus. It doesn't focus on the user experience to anywhere near the degree that something like Gale Civ does. So, and I'm not saying that like Distant Worlds is one of my really top favourite games of all time. I absolutely love it. You know, it's a real go-to for me. But the complexity it's more complex than it probably needs to be, and so there is that little bit of a barrier, which I think is why the ratings drop a little bit for Distant Worlds, because they don't focus on user experience as much as the as you know, a game like Gale Civ does, and Stellaris as well also focuses on that as well. So, but different types of games. I mean, this Gale Civ is a bit more like Stellaris in the sense that it's more like a board game rather than a simulation. So it's very, very different. But I do really love Gale Civ. It's such an incredibly good game. So I mean, I'm looking forward to having a look at this one with the coming, or with the new DLC for this one as well. Tales of the Arnor. Yeah. So we've got now out. Play as a new machine race civilization. Discover the history of the yore. Usually I don't like retrospective looks at different games, and so I haven't really embraced this one yet, but I will be having a look at this one. I am interested to sort of see how that one actually does work. Again, mainly because I've played procedural games more than anything else, but it is... it looks cool. It's a very, very, again, it's a great game, this one. It's so broad with what you can do in Gale Civ. It's so much easier to manage than Distant Worlds as well. But again, I love Distant Worlds as well, so don't get me wrong. I'm not sort of saying this is a better game. I do have to start winding up, guys, so sorry, there's more and more comments coming in. Yeah, Scassner saying... yeah, Maxos Blaster Tech Level 2, for example. I just think a little dot in the corner with the number in it would be enough just to know what tech level you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know. It's so anyway, where we got the tutorial on Fluttery Kingdoms be appreciated. I'm very bad at that game. I've done extended. If you go to the Slytherin channel, it's not on my channel, but on the Slytherin channel, I've done 3 or 4 now. Where I'm playing as Wales, where I do go through. I think a dedicated tutorial would be good, actually. I might even do that. I might show again. God, I'm going to be late, but I will do it. I will do it. If we go into Field of Glory Kingdoms, there is actually a way to play this, and I showed this in the last. There's a live stream coming out, like a video coming out on Slytherin this week, actually, and in a day or two. which of the live stream that I did on the Slytherin channel. And I've got like about once a month I'm doing like a live stream that builds on top of the previous live stream. And so I've been playing as Wales with that one and trying to sort of show how the game works. And this is something I should have shown way at the start of the game. But if I go and load in where I am, I'll go back to the previous turn. So I'll go to where we are right now. So this is actually no, I will go back here to Wales 04. So this is actually this is like a month ago that I played this one, 13th of February. So if I just go and load this one in, so this is actually where I started. I think I played it on Friday on the Slytherin channel, but there was one little tip here that I think I really should have shown this at the very start of doing this whole series, because it's such a handy tip to get a feel for what's going on in Field of Glory Kingdoms. If you're not sure what Field of Glory Kingdoms is, this is essentially like Crusader Kings, but with fighting armies. It's actually less on the role play aspect. Like Crusader Kings absolutely dominates that area where actually you're managing your family and you're sort of getting immersed in the actual court. So Crusader Kings, you feel like you're living inside the castle and you're then just doing everything's more remotely. In this game, you're looking at the overall strategy game and you're doing a little bit of work inside the castle, if that makes any sort of sense. But in this case, what actually happens when you come into the game is every turn, when you start a turn, you end up with these important messages through there. We've got a new regional decision. If I go and click on it, it'll then show me stuff. I won't go into this in any depth, but as you go through here, from the grip of Northumbria did we wrest Perfilid, conquering it for our realm. So we actually had like an attack that went in through there. So we've actually managed to do that one through there. Battle was fought. Gives us sort of like summaries as to what went on with battles. Foul treachery, Northumbria seized, so that this is going backwards in time. I should have probably done it the other way, but a battle's been fought. So we've got numerous battles were fought the previous turn. So we're getting information about what we're looking at with our current turn at this point in time. And if I hover over these icons, we can then sort of see that we've got Riyadh is offering his services. So we've got a new character that's come and joined us. He received a new regional decision, the Art of Siege. So that's coming in our capital. In through here, we've got different messages, again, the ones that we saw in through here. This is turn 26. And so we had various attacks going in. The Northumbrian army is now back out through here, so they're actually now licking their wounds. You can see there that their effectiveness is very low for their particular army group. And so they've actually now gone into the Solway Firth in this instance. But that's all we get to see initially. We see some things that affect us indirectly, like this one here. Due to escalating tensions, Wessex and England have terminated their treaty, each accusing the other of endorsing a misguided faith. And so in this point, Wessex is now split from England, and we're just getting sort of like, this is important information that sort of impacts us a little bit. This information, though, is vital, because you then will start to sort of see, and you'll really only see, I'm not going to see anything up in Scotland, Ireland. I'm getting very limited information. Over through here in Normandy, for example. But if we change the filtering, we end up with, and this is actually, I think, a really key way of actually getting an understanding of the game. When you come in, like if you go in by default, if I go and click on the message log, the message log is such a massive resource in the game. If you have a look, at the moment we're looking at explicit broadcast, view messages relevant to your nation or general broadcasts. I can change it to my allies. Now, we've only got one ally, which is Jubith, back in there. If I go and click on that one, we're not seeing any messaging at all anymore, because there's nothing that happened there that was important at all. If I go and click on the start, like we've got only the top messaging. If I go to average messaging, there's still nothing for them. If I go to low messaging, even low messaging, there's still nothing from their perspective. I'll just keep it on medium at this point in time. If I then go to the last one, which is foreign, view messages unrelated to you or your allies, look at what happens now. When I go and click on it, we start to now get other information around us. And if I go back to that one there, We're going to even get like specific loss information. So when we have a look at this one, we still actually have the same event that happened in through there, that due to escalating tensions, Wessex and England have terminated their treaty. We can see that there's been a population increase there. Back in through here, after long and arduous tracking efforts, armed men in Oxford neutralised the nuisance caused by a poacher. So they've actually had internal problems, which we now are aware of, which we weren't aware of that one. Population increase in through there. In through here, which is really interesting, is that this is 1066. So this is the year that that England was invaded by first of all the ruler of Essex became the King of England. So Harold, what's his name? Sorry, I forget his name. Actually, Godwinson. Is it Harold Godwinson? Anyway, Godwinson ended up becoming the King of England back in this other side at this point in time in 1066, after Edward the Confessor died. In this particular alt series of games, Edward the Confessor has been killed. We killed him in our wars. The King of the King of Wessex is that still Harold? Yeah, Harold Godwinson is still the actual king is the ruler of Wessex. So he was promised the throne by Edward the Confessor in real history, but in our history, we killed Edward the Confessor before everything was ready. We killed him 10 years ago in the game, and so all of the actual history is now out the window. But we see all of the actual information around everything. England was also invaded by Harald Hardrada, the King of Norway, and we can go across to Norway and sort of see that there's actual things in through this other side. So in Oslo, enlisted talented combatants that show a variety of skills. The Swedish army has been repulsed by strong patrols from Oslo, so Sweden is actually causing issues. There's been battles in through here. A battle's been fought between Sweden and Vestland. After the Battle of Dal, Vestland halted its army. We can then sort of see, because we've got all of the information turned on, we can see the actual losses. So peasant militia, light militia were destroyed. And medium militia as well. So there's just lots. We see everything around, and so this gives you a much clearer perspective. What's really interesting here, though, at this point in time, is we end up with fighting going on in here. So in Normandy, there's been destroyed by lack of supply in Bayeux. So the siege of Bayeux in Bayeux, Normandy, is over, and France stands victorious. This is Normandy. So in his reign, Thomas claimed the region of Bayeux, has pledged allegiance to Blois, which is one of the attackers going back in. And William the Conqueror is furious. The claimed region of Bayeux has fallen into enemy hands and has lost Normandy. So in 1066, he is in no position to invade England. So our old history, we see all of this content. It's not everywhere, but we see a lot of it. So we've got Leonard is now the new ruler of Brabant. We've got Henry Capet, the France, named Leonard Marcher, Lord of Brabant. Leonard has now pledged allegiance to the vassal of France. So this is actually sort of like, we see this one tip alone will give you such a great perspective of what's going on around you. So we've got all sorts of different things. There's heretics and cultists back over here. So we get a much clearer picture of the world going on. But it doesn't stop there. If we go and change what's going on, and this is actually for the current turn. If I go back and look at previous turns, it doesn't show the current turn, but it'll show about 10 turns of history typically. I can then start to see all sorts of things that have happened in here. So we've got new population back in through there, but in this case here, like in Mercia, which we're at war with, we can see in turn 17 an important religious figure of Mercia has come to Gloucester. Religious festivities and processions ensued for the benefit of the populace. In turn 21, like 5 turns before where we are now, amid a great feast in the Grand Hall, Earl William the Affable suddenly collapsed and did not rise again. So he actually died having a feast, and then it was long live the king. After the death of William the Affable, the Mercian population celebrate their new monarch, William Rufus. So we have a change of rulership for the one we're at war with, which we don't see unless we're looking at these sort of histories or the events. These events would then show up at the time. We've got different attacks that were going through. Archers were destroyed by lack of supply in Hereford. Peasant militias were destroyed by a lack of supply in Hereford, back in through there as well. These were sieges that were happening, going back through sieges. battle is fought between Dubith and England, and again we can sort of see the damage that was then done. But we start to get a much clearer picture, like even in England, new population, back and through this other side. We don't get to see the killing of Harold, of Edward the Confessor. That happened sort of too far out. That was like 20 turns ago that actually happened in this time. But the combination of this stuff gives you a much clearer picture as to what's going on. Look at what's happened in Normandy. Like, this is actually all of the history, the alternate history of what's actually going on. So this little tip alone will give you a perspective. So of the game. It will help enormously to be able to look at the filtering of these different things. So by default, all we see is this, but you can open up so much more. In fact, you can even open up your own. If I just go back to important messages, but go back to the history, we can then see the history of our land as to what's actually happened. We've got raids by Northumbria. We've got powerful raids in there by Northumbria. We've got Ratcatcher has been completed. So we can see all of the histories of what's actually gone on in the last 10 turns or so. Anyway, I hope that tip helps because for me it's actually something I should have shown much earlier, because it makes the game so much more approachable to be able to at least get the perspective of what's going on around you. So hopefully that is helpful if you are trying to play the game. As I say, I've got that series of games which is on YouTube, but on the Slytherin channel. So it's not on my channel, and there's a new one coming out this week, which will go through that tip as well. I've spent a bit of time actually analysing or showing the history of the game that we're playing through that one, but I should have shown that one weeks and weeks ago, I think, because it's such a handy tip. To be honest, I knew it was there, but I didn't realise just how helpful that was until I actually did it in the last playthrough. And I thought, wow, I've got to do that all the time. I've got to do that much more often, like every few turns I really should do it. Okay, well, guys, I really do have to get going now, so I'll have to leave it there. So yeah, William the Conqueror in our timeline is that was before I started doing the live stream. No, I won't give any spoilers away. Let's just do the live stream. But let's just say that it's interesting. It's very, very interesting that this alternate history. It's sort of I find it fascinating actually, just the way the game develops. It's very, very cool. Anyway, guys, got to leave it there. So thanks for watching, and I should be back next week. I know I've got another stream. It may even be next week, actually. I've got a Slytherin stream at my usual time for this, so I may not be here for that next week. But I'm thinking, I do like the idea of trying to do like a regular Dwarf Fortress stream, or not Dwarf Fortress. Actually, I didn't even talk about Dwarf Fortress. That's been so much fun playing that one. I'm playing it on Twitch, and I upload it generally a week later. I haven't done it for the last week, but I will actually upload it. That's been such a cool series, actually, the live stream of that one there, which is on Twitch. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you, probably won't be next week, but I will, if you're around, I will try to do a Distant Worlds live stream on a regular basis as well. Or maybe, I know I've got so many other games I've got to play. I'll do